ICENET. Dynasties live here.
The third period to complete his first ever Stanley Cup hat trick. The Flyers went on to an 8-3 victory to even the series at a game apiece. Other offensive stars of the evening, Bill Barber and Bobby Clark. Barber assisted on Clark's goal as Clark put a rebound past Smith. It was goal number 6 of the playoffs for the Flyers assistant coach. Billy Barber sent it into Jimmy Watson in the right corner. Watson found Clark in front, and Clark tapped in his own rebound. And then Barber with a Clark-type stuff shot. And Barber now has 12 goals in the playoffs. That leads all Stanley Cup competitors. Tonight, Game 3 at Nassau Coliseum. Flyers hockey is brought to you by the F&M Schaefer Brewing Company and the Schaefer Circle of Sports. Come into the Schaefer Circle for a great beer every time. By your local Ford dealers. New cars, used cars, service, parts leasing. Your Ford dealer has it all under one roof. And by Texaco, who also brings you quality automotive products you can trust. By McDonald's Family Restaurants. Nobody can do it like McDonald's can. By PSFS, the bank that pays you more, gives you more. We can help you make it. By the people of Eastern Airlines who believe we have to earn our wings every day. And by the Pepsi-Cola bottlers of the Delaware Valley who want you to catch that Pepsi spirit.
Good evening, Gene Hart along with Bobby Taylor and Ed Van Imp to my left. The Flyers and the Islanders in an historic meeting here at the Veterans Coliseum. The first home final playoff game ever in Islander history. And Eddie, with the series tied at 1, it appears by many of the folks here tonight that the winner of this one will win the series.
I think it's a crucial game, Gene. It certainly could be a turning point as far as momentum is concerned. But nonetheless, it takes 4 games to win the Cup, and I think that there's going to be an awful lot of hockey still remaining.
Flyers should come out with a battle plan against the Islanders, who figure to come on them with a cavalry charge in the first 10 minutes before the home folks.
Well, the Islanders are certainly going to come out here flying, Gene. They'll be forcing the issue and trying to contain the Flyers in their own zone. What the Flyers have to do is, if they have any doubts or any difficulties, they've got to either freeze the puck or dump it out and more or less just control themselves, try and play as fine a first period as you can, get their legs, and hopefully go into the second period, Gene, with a pretty strong second period, and after that carry the play to the Islanders.
Very quickly, a mystery as to who will start in both nets tonight, and that's unusual for a final series.
It certainly is. Usually by now you've got your goaltending established, and both clubs are kind of giving second thoughts. The Flyers to maybe playing Muir tonight, and the Islanders are not sure they're going with Smith or Resch. I think they're both looking for that hot goaltender, the goaltender that can get them big victory tonight.
We're going to hear from 2 more original Flyers, Bobby Taylor and Gary Dornhofer, who'll be back to analyze this game after we pause for these messages.
Bobby Taylor along with Gary Dornhofer. And Gary, first 2 games, everybody's all even now. Was it a surprise to you to have this split in Philadelphia?
Well, the Islanders kind of caught the Flyers off guard and took advantage of that situation to win that first game. And then the second one, Bob, of course, was a must game for the Flyers, and you had to be impressed with the way they won it. They made the adjustments that they needed to make to win the game, and they won going away. And I think that game in itself will give them a lot more confidence coming in here in the island.
Coming into this game tonight, there's been a lot of controversy in the paper newspapers about everybody's accusing the other side of dirty tactics, but both teams play that physical type hockey. Has it been as physical as you thought?
No, it hasn't. With all the power play goals scored, I think both teams realize the importance of staying out of that penalty box. That's gamesmanship that's been going on there, Bobby, but I really expect a physical game tonight. The Islanders, talking to Al Arbor, he feels that they have to play much more physical, get involved, take men out of the play. That's what the Flyers did so effectively in Game 2, and that's why they won.
Some have said that the Islanders have to play physical to win, and yet the Flyers can still play sort of a skating game and still end up on the top.
Well, they certainly have the legs. I was impressed with Linsman there. He certainly showed the type of player that he is with that acceleration and speed, and when he's out there, he becomes a threat every time he touches the puck. But I think the key guy to really concentrate on is Paul Holmgren, with his toughness, and works along the boards and in front of the net. And I think that they've got to get, the Islanders have to get Gillies against him, and what a matchup that'll be.
Holmgren's sort of your protege.
Well, he's a lot stronger than I ever was, Bobby, but, there's a guy that worked at his game and worked to develop, and you saw the results, and he's going to be there for a long time.
What do you predict now? The series is tied at 1 apiece. It's almost a best of 5 now. How do you see the end of the series?
Bobby, every time I predict something, I get in trouble, but I think tonight's game is a real character builder, and I really think that the winner of this game has an excellent chance of winning the series.
Gary, I want to thank you.
All right, Bobby, enjoyed being here.
Gary Dornhofer, now back up to Gene Hart.
Well, the mystery of the goaltenders has been solved. Willie Smith received just a rest in the third period of Thursday night's game, and it was not a lack of confidence on the part of Al Arbor, despite Smith giving up 9 goals in the 5 periods he worked in Philadelphia. And at the other end, again, Pat Quinn going with hunches, going with a change when he had a hot goaltender, and he goes to Phil Meir, who's had a brilliant playoffs. One game against the Edmonton Oilers, double overtime, he wins it 3-2, shuts out the opposition the last 66 minutes, does not play through the first 5 Ranger games of that entire series, and game number 1 of Minnesota, played the last 4, won them all, has a 5-0 record with a 1.85 goals against record, and yet it was Quinn going back to Pete Peters for games 1 and 2. And the only speculation that we have is that Quinn feels that Meir, the veteran, may have a little better edge on the road against the enemy fans and team than the young Pete Peters. Both teams are on the ice. We've just been joined by Bobby Taylor.
Okay, these fans at the Nassau Coliseum are really up for this game. They've been standing and cheering ever since the Islanders came out on the ice. And we're going to have the national anthem sung by Joe Drewer. And we'll take time out for that national anthem.
Bobby, we've been advised that the new ritual here is to cheer right through the anthem as a sign of fan support.
Some ritual, Jaden. It's almost deafening, that roar of the crowd. The officials tonight, the referee is Bob Myers, linesman John D'Amico, and Ray Scapanello. And as Gene mentioned, in goal for Philadelphia will be Phil Meir with a sparkling 1.85 average with 1 shutout. He's yet to be defeated in the playoffs. And for the Islanders, Billy Smith, 2.65 average with 1 shutout, 12 wins and 3 losses.
Well, you've heard of the terrible towel from Pittsburgh. Well, the Islander fans have come up with their secret weapon. It's the Flyer Flogger, also a towel of orange and white. We have Lynchman out with Pop and Holmgren, Jimmy Watson and Busnick. Flyers moving to our right. And Goring is on with Sutter on the right side. And Clark Gillies along with Dennis Potvin and Bob Lorimer. Of course, it was Sutter in the third period the other night who got in that brawl with Mel Bridgman, received 15 minutes in penalties, and it is Howard along with 65 minutes and Sutter with 70 who are leading New York in penalty minutes, while Ben Wilson's 58. And Bobby, an immense number of penalty minutes, 419 in the playoffs for the Islanders, 374 for the Flyers, well over 800 minutes between the two teams.
It just goes to show you that they are both physical teams, but the Flyers picked up an awful lot of penalty minutes against Minnesota, and the Islanders did the same against the Boston Bruins. So actually the majority of those penalty minutes came in one series. Pat Quinn just voted the Coach of the Year by the National Hockey League. He'll receive the award tomorrow at an NHL luncheon here, and it's the Jack Adams Award that he'll receive. They're having some trouble with stuff on the ice already before the face-off, as they've had the crew here at the Nassau County Coliseum out with a scraper to scrape something that was thrown on the ice.
Just directly in front of Pat Quinn as we looked across the way. From right to left, Billy Barber, Reggie Leach, Bobby Clark, along with Bob Kelly and Mel Bridgman. Paul Holmgren, who had the Flyers' 8th all-time playoff hat trick in the game Thursday night, giving him 9 for the playoffs. 1 behind Bobby Bourne and 3 behind the playoff leader in goals, Billy Barber with 12. All right, we're set to go. Game 3, tied at 1 from the Nassau County Veterans Coliseum. Goring and Lynchman. The puck drawn back to the Islander defense where Potvin up on center ice along the left wing to Gillies. He forwards it into the Philadelphia zone, falls. Jimmy Watson swings along his own right wing boards. Gets past his man and through to Lynchman at center ice with Prop against Potvin. Inside Potvin, offensive right wing corner at the side of the net, a stuffer. And Billy Smith hung close to that side as Lynchman made the best move and stripped Potvin of the defensive play, and he went in on net. Now the play back to the Philadelphia line. Prop is run out by Sutter. Again as the Islanders leaving the calling card. A length of the ice pass by Philadelphia fails to connect. The rebound taken in his own left wing corner by the Islanders. Potvin, and we have an icing call. And we'll remind you that Bobby Taylor, Ed Van Imp, and I have been paid and selected by the Philadelphia Flyers.
Kenny Lynchman again starting for Philadelphia, and he has really become a target throughout these playoffs. Every team that the Flyers play in these Stanley Cup playoffs have always vowed at how bad he is. Clark Gillies will see a lot of action, I believe, tonight, Gene, on the left wing opposite Paul Holmgren. Holmgren was so devastating on Game 2 that I think Al Arbor would want Big Gillies out there to combat some of that strength that Paul has.
Face off to Mears left. Lynchman again scoring. The Flyers win the draw. And McEllargy is on now with Ben Wilson. Winds it around to Holmgren, who's pressed by Potvin, but the puck slides past both of them in the neutral zone. Lorimer on the near side gives the puck away to Holmgren. He's going in on a break, but the prop pass led him by half a strike too soon, and no play was made as Gillies up at center ice. A mix-up at the Islander defense, and in went Holmgren by himself, and we're going to have a hooking call against the Islanders. And there's the call, and the Islanders now are going to pick up Sutter. We're pulling in on Brian Prop after 1:01 of play. 18:59 remaining first period. Flyer power play coming up in a scoreless game.
Penalty as he hooked Brian Prop just inside the red line as he was trying to make a play to Paul Holmgren at the blue line, and he'll receive the first minor at 1:01 of this first period, and the power play goes to Philadelphia.
Earlier, had Prop not got a pass forward to Holmgren too hard, Paul would have been all by himself. But Smith came way out to his left to break up the play. All right, Clark is out along with Hill and Leach. All jammed in at the blue line. Barber keeps it in along the left wing side. Winds it around behind the New York net to Leach. Lets it go back to Daly at the right point. Into the near circle. Clark can't control the pass. And Bob Bourne is up front with Lauren Henning killing the penalty. Shoots it down. Defensively, they have Lane out with Ken Morrow as Bob Daly, with 13 assists already in the playoffs, to Clark at center ice, has to regroup at his own line, and then Hurley passes to the right wing, and it's cleared. Back to the Flyer line by Henning. And up ice now comes Billy Barber. Up on the left wing, through to Hill. Hill to Leach. He's got Clark in front. Shot in on the net. And Billy Smith has popped up in front, knocked it behind, off the side of the Twining, and now we get a high stick call against the Islanders, and the correct one at that. As it popped up above Smith's shoulder, he knocked it down behind the net, touched up by Gillies off. That'll stop the violation. 18:20 remaining scoreless first period. Drops Smith cleared off to Goring along his own left wing side, fails to clear, but then gets it to Trottier, and he just corrects it all the way down into the Philadelphia zone with 1:10 remaining on the penalty to Dwayne Sutter. Flyers in the series against the Islanders are 4 for 9 on the power play, and in the series 14 for 58 overall. Rink wide pass to Clark at the Islander line left wing. To Leach. Leach is going right on in. Goring strips him of the puck. Clark gets it in the far corner. Tries to draw Goring over so he can get it back to Barber at the point. Does. Barber in with a drive. Smith the save. Clark with a rebound. Offensive left wing board. Runs into the referee Bob Myers. That allows Morrow to make a play. They fight for it along the far boards, and Morrow wins it and ducks to center. 40 seconds on the advantage as Leach pass from Daly kicks back into the Flyers zone off the skate, and here comes Lintzman on there now as Leach again has trouble controlling at center. Through in the far wing. It'll be a delay offside. Taken off is borne up ice to Henning. Henning in on the left circle drive. He scores!
The Flyers had all 4 defenders, almost 5, all the way over on the left side of the ice. The pass came over to Lorne Henning, who took a long slap shot. Muir was well out, but couldn't get his pads closed in time. And the Islanders have opened up a 1-0 lead on the shorthanded goal by Lorne Henning. For Henning, it's his 3rd of the playoffs.
And all 3 have been shorthanded, which ties him with Billy Barber and Derek Sanderson for most shorthanded goals in a playoff year. And for the Islanders, Bobby, it is their 7th shorthanded goal of the playoffs. They have now broken the all-time record. They have tied it at 6. They have 7, and they draw first blood.
Bobby Bourne picks up the only assist on the goal. The time of the score, 2:38. 23 seconds remaining on the hooking call to Brian Sutter. And the Flyers still have that power play. But Henning, on the shorthanded goal, has a 1-0 Islander lead.
Very much like Thursday night when the Islanders carried the heavy first period going and yet found themselves behind. Now Henning overskates at the Philadelphia line. 15 seconds left as Lintzman turns. Watson back with Busnick, and Lintzman is on with Holmgren and Propp, who's at the Islander line, challenged by Lorimer. Goes back to his own line and plays it cross ice. That'll do it. And Sutter will be out in 3 seconds as the puck tips through Holmgren, who's bumped by Potvin, who ices it, and that's what the call will be as the Islander penalty is expired. There's the touch-up. So the Flyers on their first advantage, Byrne with a shorthanded goal. Henning third, his 3rd shorthanded goal of the playoff. All 3 of them. The Islanders 7th at the disadvantage, and they lead 1-0.
Well, the Islanders opened up with the first goal on Thursday night's game. Goring came right back close after that to hit the goalpost, but then it was Philadelphia who scored quickly to tie the game and then took over from there. But teams that have scored that first goal in the playoffs have won most of the contests. In fact, I think there's only been 18 games won in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year when the team hasn't scored the first goal.
Right, Hill is out along with Goranson Bridgman, who gets it back to Daly. Shot on the net. Blocked and taken out by Pearson of the Islanders. Comes up with Bossy at the Flyer line. Through into the zone looking for Bourne. Bounces it in on Muir. Throws it behind, but the Flyers are late in covering in front. And Bossy misdirected it. Then tried to center it again. Is crushed by Daly. And the puck taken off by Bridgman, who lifts through past Hill into center ice. Covering to the near side, Pearson again fires it weakly into the zone. Goes across ice. Bossy's got a man in front. Cut off nicely by DuPont. And the Flyers come out. Goranson at center with Hill on his left. 2-on-3 at the Islander line. Drops to Daly. In. Shot! Right in on net on the deflection by Goranson. Billy Smith had to be equal, and he was to keep it 1-0 New York.
Smith had to go to the knees, and look here that Tommy Gorance was in a good position to go and deflect the puck past Billy Smith. But a good play by the Flyers, and Daly moving up very quickly to get the good low shot right through Potvin. Gorance touched it a little bit. Smith had to sprawl with his pad spread and made an excellent save. Matches for the game tonight for Philadelphia: Frank Pate, Dennis Gerbergard, John Paddock, Gary Morrison, and Norm Barnes. And the Islanders have scratched Anders Keller, John Potvin, and Steve Tampolini.
All right, Bridgman, Hill, and Gorance with Busnick and Jimmy Watson. And it is Merrick out, along with Trottier on the left wing and Nystrom on the near side, as Merrick up through to Trottier at his own line. Has trouble with it as he's chased by Busnick. Throws it loosely at center along the far wing. Takes a bump. Does Busnick, but the Flyers come back. Gorringe avoids the check, takes it into the zone, does Bridgman on the near side, flips it behind the net as Pearson takes a run at Bridgman. It is Hill in front to Gorringe by himself. He goes to shoot. It's blocked off the Hill, a drive, open net, another shot. And we're going to have a penalty against the Islanders for taking down Mel Bridgman. That was Rod Langevin. Flyer power play coming up with 15:49 remaining in the first period. Islanders 1 and Flyers no score. And in the Philadelphia Journal's power play payoff is Dot McMonagle of Wildwood, New Jersey.
Dave Langevin, interference is the call at 4:11 as he took down Bridgman before he had a chance to get at the rebound, but the Flyers really were in at close quarters. Billy Smith wisely just sprawled out all along the goal line to prevent the Flyers from getting anything low. And they're in too close to get it high.
Here comes Bourne at the Flyer line, and then as he had no opening, will go back to his own end to Lane to kill time. Now Henning at center couldn't handle it, and it slides the length of the ice. And the Flyers' last advantage with Sutter off, it was Henning on the break getting the shorthanded goal from Bourne, and that's 1-0. Clark coming out of his own end, almost had it stripped by Henning. Now along the near side, still with the puck, drops off to Leach. He'll start through along the right wing, cuts to the middle of the ice, over to Barber, and Barber fires it around the left wing board. Smith slows it down. It's picked up by Gordy Lane in the near corner. He's checked. Henning tries to come out with it. He'll fight for it as he's up front with Leach and Clark. Gordy Lane gives it around away to Leach around the far side, tries to fire toward the net, hits the side of the net, and clears off the right wing side in the Islanders' zone where Bourne dumps it to center. Now Clark, who has a career high of 18 points in this playoff year, gets it into Holmgren. Holmgren past Ken Morrow. Tries to put a pass to the blue line and blocked off at center ice is Henning by Barber as he tried to break up ice through with the Flyers 57 seconds on the advantage. Bill Barber over the line on the far side. Tries to handle the puck, but it slides on the poke check by Cloutier to Ken Morrow. Sends it all the way down and up ice. We have a pass taken away at center by Cloutier from Mir, but he is stripped by Lintzman, who gets it to Daly. Daly coming out of his own end now with 40 seconds on the advantage. Down goes Goring as the puck into the Islanders' zone and cleared out along the near side as the Islanders really short two men with Goring out of position in the neutral zone. Now Prop tries to go back to his own line, but misses Daly, and the puck slides back behind the Philadelphia net. 25 seconds on the advantage. Goring slows down Lintzman at the side of the Flyer goal. Now Daly sets up behind. As out there again Henning, and the Flyers get it up on the far wing, but unable to handle it is Holmgren, and it slides back to Lorimer in the New York zone. He shoots at the center, and it clears off the linesman on the far side, and he's hopping Ray Scapanello. Flyers shoot at the center. They try to get it up ice, stolen away there by Goring. Off to the near side, and Dennis Potvin, as he's challenged and bumped by Bob Kelly, on for the first time. Throws it all the way down as the penalty is over, and they try to go to Lintzman up at center ice, picked off at the New York line by Tonelli. He clears to center. Here comes Busnick back trying to penetrate. Fires it cross ice in the New York zone, but Nystrom there shoots it to center for the Islanders. Jimmy Watson drives it back in, and in goes Bob Kelly, but Billy Smith behind his net. Clears off to the near side as Bob Kelly took a vicious check from Dennis Potvin, with the Islanders in their own goal. Doc McMonagle, you didn't win the 500, but you've got one. 2 tickets to the Flyers' next home playoff game, thanks to the Journal. Now we've got a Flyer penalty. As up ice comes Lorimer. Left wing, he's got Tonelli going right in front. A shot by Merrick, blocked off. And finally it's taken off by the Philadelphia Flyers. We're going to have a Flyer trip. With 13:06 remaining in the first period, Islanders 1 and the Flyers no score.
Call on Kelly as he took a shot at Dennis Potvin after Potvin gave him a solid check in the boards. Potvin trying to carry the puck out, passed the puck over to his defense mate. Kelly came in and slapped the feet out from under the Islander defenseman. Now the Islanders will have a shot at the power play.
Pache, Bossy, and Gillies out with Potvin and Pearson. The Flyers, though, Clark gets the draw to Dupont, who slaps it through the defense and out of the Philadelphia zone and all the way down the ice. It's Clark out along with Leach, and Dupont on with Daly as the Islanders having trouble coming out. Finally, Pearson does into the neutral zone. Bossy breaking in on the left. They go near side to Cloutier, but offside is Bossy as he anticipated the pass from his lead man up ice. 1:43 on the advantage. Again, the only goal, Henning from Bourne, shorthanded, and the Islanders lead it 1-0.
Islanders have had a lot of success in controlling the play when they fed their trailing defensemen who are moving up on the play. In other words, the Flyers have come back and they've come in deep in their own zone, and the Islanders have dropped the puck off to the trailing defensemen who have had a lot of good shots on the goaltender.
And Clark with the lead. Daly with Dupont. And it's Bossy, Gillies, the line centered by Cloutier. Potvin on the right side. Pearson on the left.
John D'Amico, Ray Scapanello, the linesman, and Bob Myers, the referee. The 3 penalties called in the game, the first to Philadelphia. Puck at the feet of Trottier, didn't find it. And it's Bob Daly looking up ice to Clark. Right wings to Leach. One-on-one with Pearson. Shot! And Willie Smith made the save, and the rebound pressure spun him around in the net as the puck comes to center onto the stick of DuPont. Right side pass to Daly, and up through trying to find Clark at center. Picked off by Trottier. Poked back off his stick by Philadelphia's Clark into the New York end with 1:20 remaining on the Flyer penalty as Dennis Potvin now starts up through at center ice. Finds an opening against DuPont. It's going to go right on in. Shot! Save! Rebound! Score!
As he made an excellent move around DuPont. Came in with a first shot. There made the save, but the rebound came right back to Potvin. And he went right in, following all the way up, and just picked it and flipped it up over a fallen Phil Muir. And the Islanders have gone up 2-0. The power play goal by Dennis Potvin came at 7:43.
That's his third of the playoffs against the Flyers, his fourth overall. And Bobby, that goal gives him 26 in his playoff career. That ties him with Bobby Orr, just 4 behind Brad Clark, who are number 1 and number 2 in defenseman goals and playoff action.
For number 5, Dennis Potvin.
The Islanders have used the power play so far this first period. Picking up a shorthanded goal on the Flyers power play, now scoring on their first attempt.
43, unassisted.
Unassisted the goal as Potvin made an end-to-end rush.
You could see that develop from the blue line as the Flyers didn't protect that blue line, and Potvin went one-on-one on DuPont. Now up at center ice, the Flyers who have Jimmy Watson out defensively with Busnick, and up front they have Hill with Gorentz and Rick McLeish. Merrick on with Nystrom and Tonelli trying to come out of their own zone, and Merrick flies through past Gorentz at center. Gets past Busnick, up the Philadelphia line, drops to Tonelli, shot deflected from the near side, away from Tonelli, centering pass, goes back to Lane at the point. Drive! Oh, what a save by Muir, as Lane really had that ticketed from the left point. Nystrom behind the Flyer net with Gorentz. Merrick in there, tries to get it away, but it's taken from Merrick by McLeish, who'll lead a charge up ice with Busnick on his right. Through at the Islander line, gets past his man, is tripped up, forwards it into the zone, but is taken away by Nystrom, who'll come back the other way with Merrick. Left wings to Tonelli, through into the Philadelphia zone, dumps it to the net. Nystrom was there, but the pass missed him by half a stride as the game has opened up 2-0 with 11:20 remaining in the first period. Islanders up in the far corner. Al Hill plays it behind the Islander net to Gorentz. Gorentz on the near side to McLeish. McLeish challenged by Lane, gets it back to Ben Wilson. Point shot, tipped about waist high by Gorentz wide of the net, and the Islanders, Nystrom with a rebound, slides it through to center after taking a bump from Jack McEllargy. Ben Wilson up ice to Linseman. Can't get past Goring, who's just come on ice now for the Islanders. It's Goring with Gillies and Sutter, and defensively Pearson with Lane, who has the pass at his own line along the left wing. Holmgren out there with Propp and Linseman, and defensively McEllargy with Ben Wilson. McEllargy clears the puck to the Flyers' defensive left wing boards. Propp can't come out with it, then does get it, gives it away to Gillies off his glove, and it slides through him into center ice. Reaching there first is Langevin to dump it down in the Flyer zone behind the net. Then Wilson quickly up the Propp, and we're going to have a penalty in there, and it's going to be against Gillies for taking down Ben Wilson. And it'll be the Islanders' third penalty, and the Flyers' opportunity on their third power play to get back into the game. 10:28 remaining first period. Islanders 2, and the Flyers no score.
Clark Gillies took a check from Ben Wilson at the Flyers' blue line, and then the puck went in behind the goal, and Wilson picked it up and was coming out around as Clark Gillies tried to come in and take a check on Wilson to return the favor. He couldn't get all of it. He stuck the foot out. Wilson was tripped up. He goes off at 9:32, and the Flyers' third power play.
Flyers have played well. It seems strange. They're trailing 2-0, yet they made 2 mistakes. Henning allowing him to go in on the shorthanded goal, allowing Potvin to go coast to coast. On them, not only getting the one shot, but the rebound. But the Flyers still playing well enough. Have an opportunity, third power play. They're 0 for 2 to get back of one of those 2 goals here in the first period. Daly back with Bill Barber. Flyers are 4 for 11 now against New York as the crisscross play at the Islander line taken by Propp along the boards. Holmgren went in the middle offside.
Brian Propp, a lot of people are wondering. They haven't heard much of him in the goal scoring end, but he's picked up 13 assists in the playoffs so far. 13 points rather, not assists.
Puck at center. Bourne putting pressure on Daly. Gets it through to Lintzman, and at the Islander line, Holmgren is stopped by Bourne, who's out with Henning. All three of Henning's goals in the playoffs on the shorthanded. Now Prop shot from the left circle is deflected up into the end seat near corner by Bob Lorimer. Face-off at the top of the Flyers' offensive left wing circle with 1:38 remaining on the Flyers' advantage.
Well, Dennis Potvin has been the key to the success of the Islanders in the playoffs, and he is the one who picked up the second goal on the power play. He made a fine move by DuPont to take a good wrist shot. He's used that wrist shot quite a bit, much like Rick McLeish, and just followed up the rebound and chipped it up over Phil Muir.
Holmgren, Lintzman, Prop, Barber, and Daly. Puck taken by Potvin. Clears off the near side. Goring and Daly in a foot race for it. Daly wins it back to Potvin. Clears to the blue line and out. Now Barber's going to have pressure put on by Goring and by Trottier, but the Flyers control back in their own zone, but they're forced back deep. And that kills time with 1:20 on the advantage. Up through to Lintzman along the right wing, challenging Potvin. Up the middle, over to the far side. Shot to the net. Smith the save off to his right. And Lorimer on the far side gets it back to the point. Now to center. And Goring strips it. It's a foot race. Goring's going to win it against Daly. He's in. Drive and near with a right shoulder from the right circle. Makes a big save on an excellent shot by Goring. Now Trottier in the Flyers' defensive right wing corner. Finally has the puck stripped away by Barber. Goring in there. As Trottier drops off now, on the ice will come Lauren Henning with Lintzman coming up the middle at center ice. 50 seconds on the advantage. Drops it off to Hill, who's on now with Clark and Wilson. Over the line, Hill on the near side. He's got a man breaking for the net. Goes back to Wilson. Quick shot blocked off to the far side. Taken by Lintzman into the left wing corner. Hill's late getting there, and it's played up to Bourne by Henning. They fail to get it out on the far boards. Now Bourne in there along with Henning and Hill. It's Bourne around, taking it away, trying to clear, and again it hits a Flyer. Stays in on the near side and finally poked up ice. Barber's alone. Here comes Bourne going right on in. Drives. Beer that gets the save as he was on the inner portion of the Flyers' defensive right wing circle. And the Islanders now are giving the Flyers fits on the Flyers power play.
They are really not backing each other up. They're taking so many gambles and not really going after the puck. The Flyers have had so many opportunities, or the Islanders rather, all alone on Phil Muir. Goring had a good shot, and Phil Muir had to make an excellent glove save with his blocking mitt. And this time it was Bourne who walked down the left wing on the breakaway, semi-breakaway, and get the shot away on Muir, who covered up in the 5-hole and hung on for the face-off. But the Flyers are very sloppy on their power play.
All right, Clark on with Hill and Leach, and Jimmy Watson with Busnick with 21 seconds remaining to face off in their own zone. They have gone away from the four forwards on the advantage. And it's still Bourne with Henning, and defensively Morrow with Lane as the puck slides to center. Morrow back at the center ice red line, forwards it weakly at the Flyer line. Flyers have trouble as Bourne's putting heat on. Finally it bounces up ice to Hill. It'll run through at the Islander line. Rink wide pass right side to Leach there. Shot gets under it as it bounced at the last second from the right forwards, and it goes up into the end seats. No deflection there. And then we've got Lane running into Leach, and Mike Busnick grabs a hold of Lane behind the Islander net.
Well, Lane took out Leach after the shot went up over and gave him a little extra shove, and I think Busnick picked that up and wanted to come in to make sure that Lane didn't take any more advantage of Reggie Leach, and they just met and had a few discussions, for a few words rather.
We've already had 4 penalties in the game, but the Islanders have picked up 3. The first one to Sutter resulted in a shorthanded goal by Henning. And then Potvin, with the advantage, while Kelly was off, went coast to coast and scored on his rebound to make it 2-0 New York. We have 8:33 remaining in the first period. Hill out along with Leach, centered by Clark. And the Flyers go Busnick and Jimmy Watson as Bridgman is told he can't come out on the ice. 5 seconds remaining on the Flyer advantage. Gillies will be out there now for the Islanders, Morrow and Lane, and they have 2 centermen, Goring and Trottier, to kill the final 5 seconds of the penalty. The Flyers have it in the neutral zone. To Clark, trying to get through to Leach, blocked off, and Trottier sends it all the way down. And the linesmen signal both ways, safe play, the penalty is over. Flyers still trail 2-0 as Bridgman on the far side is stripped of the puck. The Islanders forechecking, forward it down behind the Philadelphia net. Bossy is there. Jimmy Watson falls and trying to get past him, but the puck is kicked nicely up on the far side and away to center by Bridgman from Busnick and Clark. Over the line, it's Bridgman on the near side all by himself and finally falls. And the Islanders come up on the right wing. Bossy with Trottier and Howard. Bossy at the Flyer line. Cuts to the middle. Passes off on a drop pass looking for Trottier. The Flyers DuPont read that. Comes through and dumps it into the Islander zone. Karam's right in on Billy Smith as the Flyers have Bridgman out there now along with McLeish and Bob Kelly as the Islanders. Langevin, a nice move past McLeish is going to go off for tripping.
The Islanders ice it, and as soon as DuPont touches up, Philadelphia will be at the disadvantage. Now they call it a slash. 7:36 remaining first period. It's the Islanders 2 and the Flyers no score.
On Rick McLeish at 12:24 as he took a swipe at Dave Langevin. The Islander defenseman broke his stick on the play, and then the puck was finally touched up by the Flyers in their own zone. Consequently, the face-off will be there. Slashing the call on Rick McLeish.
Potvin back at the point, toward the net, blocked off as Nystrom was right there along with Merrick, and out comes Bob Daly along the near side. They cleared off Pearson's skate and down into the New York zone. Bridgman is out with Barber, DuPont with Daly, and Potvin up front with Pearson, and they give the puck away at center ice on an outlet pass for Tonelli, who puts pressure on Daly, breaks up the play, and then Daly takes off Tonelli, and the puck comes to center ice, and now we're going to have a penalty, and the Flyers are in deep trouble as they're going to be 2 men short. Centering pass out to the far boards, down into the corner, finally taken off by DuPont, and there it's going to be. So the Flyers will be short for 2 men, 1 minute and 28 seconds, with 7:04 remaining first period. Islanders 2 and the Flyers nothing.
Bob Daly at 12:56, just 1 minute and 28 seconds into the first penalty. And the Flyers will be playing 2 men short. The puck going down into the Flyers zone for the face-off again. But Daly was caught interfering with John Tonelli as he tried to control the puck, couldn't, and Tonelli trying to break by Daly, wasn't allowed to do so. Interference is the call by referee Bob Myers.
The penalty to McLeish, just his first in the playoffs for Bob Daly, and now is 20 minutes. The Islanders on their second power play, but with a 2-man advantage. They already lead 2-0. They have Bossy out there with Gillies, Trottier, Pearson, and Dennis Potvin. Bossy at the point, going in right in front, tip shot, score by Trottier.
Well, the Islanders are 2 for 2 on the power play, as Brian Trottier had all the time in the world as they received the pass from Bossy and Potvin. He was all alone, and Phil Muir didn't shoot the puck right away, waited for Muir to go down, and then when Muir tried to get up, there was a small opening, and Trottier fired it home. It is now 3-0 New York. Brian Trottier from Mike Bossy and Dennis Potvin.
Islanders are now 7 for 16 against Philadelphia in the playoffs. And for Trottier, his 10th goal, he now has 24 points, which is just 3 of the playoff record of 27 in a playoff year by Mahovlich and by Phil Esposito. The Islanders now on their next power play as they have 1 minute 38 remaining on Daly's penalty. There goes Trottier. He's got Bossy alone in front. The pass is blocked off and cleared through into center ice off Gillies' skate. Bossy was all by himself, as the Islanders leading 3-0 and giving the Flyers back what they got on Thursday night. Will have an offside as Bossy preceded the puck into the Philadelphia zone.
Brian Trottier again, the leading scorer in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far, picking up that power play goal, but he had all the time in the world. Flyers 2 men short. Bossy fed a perfect pass to Trottier, who was right in front, right to the right of Muir. And now he just picked it up, and Muir had to try and make the move as he expected the shot come right away, but Trottier very wisely held onto it, and then when that small opening appeared, he put it through.
Right, Islanders on the advantage for another minute 16 as the Flyers trail right up the middle. Going against Jimmy Watson. Going right in. Puts the shoot, open net, and he had Muir down and hit the side of the twine. It lays there and goes out as Goring had the goal on his stick as he had Muir down, but then hit the side of the net. Faceoff comes to the neutral zone with 1 minute 9 remaining on the Flyer penalty to Bob Daly. And the Flyers now with the penalties, the power plays, the shorthanded goals are sore pressed to keep the Islanders away.
Flyers are stick checking right now. They were taking the man and the body in Philadelphia. Now they're just trying to knock that puck loose. And when you do that, you get guys like Potvin, Goring, and Trottier handles the puck so well, it's very difficult to stop them.
Potvin, a wraparound pass to the Islanders' offensive left wing side to Bourne. Challenged in there by Busnick. Gets help from Nystrom. Nystrom, offensive left wing corner behind the net to Goring. He's got Potvin out in front in the right circle. Now out in front it comes, and Bobby Clark hand passes it off to Busnick as play is allowed to follow. Play was not stopped initially as Bob Myers said no, but Clark, who had lost the stick, deliberately hand passed to Busnick to get the stoppage, but Myers waved it off, and the stoppage did not come until it was tied up by Busnick in the corner.
Jimmy Watson talking to Bob Myers about that, too, because he was sure that that's what should have been called, but Myers was saying no, that when the puck did hit Bobby Clark, he blocked the centering pass, but he just scooped it right into the corner. And then Busnick and Bourne went after the puck. Busnick touched it first. It should have been a whistle for a hand pass, but I think Myers did not see it as the goal, and Phil Muir blocked his vision in the corner.
Islanders now have 10 goals in the playoffs against Philadelphia, 7 on the power play. Leach trying to come out on the far side. He doesn't, but the puck rolls into the neutral zone. Montfun back with Kearson, and they have Gillies, Trottier, and Bossy as they lead 3-0. And they're 2 for 2 on the power play with a shorthanded goal, and they're going now on their third power play attempt. Potvin on the near side through to Gillies. Into the zone. Back passes to Bossy. Bossy's going to go right on in. Shot! Score!
Straight power play goals by the Islanders, and one shorthanded goal is now giving them a 4-0 lead. Gillies back passing the puck to Bossy. Burke read it, but couldn't control Bossy as he came to the top of the circle and lit a low shot that beat Muir to the short side right along the ice, just inside the goalpost. Mike Bossy scoring for the Islanders is now 4-0. Bossy picking up his 8th goal in the power play. Gillies will pick up 1 assist. 14:29 is the time of the power play goal.
Well, the Islanders are making a shambles of the Flyers on their power play. 3 for 3. They are now 8
Islanders goal, his 8th of the
for
playoffs
16. 8 for 16 now, as we corrected our figures. 1 out of every 2.
He assists to number 9 Clark.
Now it is Ben Wilson, as the Flyers have a long way to come back now as they trail by 4. But as so often when you fall back heavily early in the game, you've got to keep discipline and try to work back goal at a time and not worry about 4. You worry about 1. Shot to the net by Lynchman from the left boards is blocked off, and Tonelli gets it through past Merrick at center. It'll go the length of the ice as Merrick can't control over the Flyer goal line, and we'll have an icing call. Well, Phil Muir, who came into this playoffs with an extraordinary record, as he had only allowed 1.85 goals against in his 5 games, has been drilled already for 4 tonight, but you really could find no fault of Phil at all, as he's really been left hanging dry. Henning on a breakaway shorthanded, then Potvin in on a breakaway, scoring on a rebound on the power play. Trottier from in front alone, and Bossy from the left wing boards right into the slot alone.
Flyers have been killing penalties very well throughout the playoffs until tonight. The Islanders have had good success, or reasonable success, against Philadelphia, but tonight they've been just devastating on that power play.
All right, now the line out has Bourne out with Sutter and Goring, and the Lintzman prop Holmgren line out there for Philadelphia as the Islanders come out. Dwayne Sutter at center, whose early hooking call against Prop resulted in the early goal by Henning after the Flyers had put on the early pressure, and they've been flying ever since. Here comes Wilson through over the line to Lintzman on the near side. Back to Wilson. It was blocked off by Lane, and out on the right wing comes Sutter flying at the Philadelphia line. Driving in a drive. That's flipped wide of the net on the deflection. Back behind the net. The Islanders in front again. It's short. A rebound off the drive by Goring was cleared to center to the near side to Lintzman. Lintzman at the line, over the line. He's got a trailer going in Prop. Tries a shot, deflected to the right side of Smith, and the Islanders on the drive of Morrow at the right wing comes through at center ice. Sutter on his right, Howard on his left, fires it into the Philadelphia zone, comes out in front of Muir, rolls it behind for Ben Wilson, and quickly out to Prop on the left wing at center ice for Philadelphia, through to Gorence. Gorence at the Islander line, tries to go right on through, and he's grabbed and pulled down by Trottier, or by Bob Lorimer, as the Islanders shoot it, and hits the glove of Bobby Nystrom, who had his left arm on the dasher boards trying to jump into the play, and we have a stoppage. 3:59 remaining in the first period, and the Flyers have been stunned by a shorthanded goal and 3 consecutive power play goals. The goals coming in a span, Bobby, of 12 minutes and 50 seconds.
Well, the Islanders came out smoking. Al Arbor said they were going to have their spear carriers in this game here at the Island, but it's the power play that's been able to put them up 4-0.
All right, Nystrom on with Tonelli and Merrick, and defensively Lorimer with Langevin, and the Flyers go McLeish, who's on with Hill and Gorence, and Jimmy Watson with Busnick. Puck at center. Again, that's tough discipline when you fall behind early. Now they've got Nystrom up in the right wing. Turning speed on Jimmy Watson. Cuts right in front. Backhand shot. He's taken down and gets his own rebound in the near corner. Taken by Tonelli. He's bumped into by Gorance, who puts the hold on Tonelli with McLeish behind the Philadelphia net, swinging up and playing it through to Gorance at center ice for the Philadelphia. Along the right wing at the Islander line. Gets through his man on the near side. Can't get through the second man. And the Islanders, Merrick comes out at center ice, 2-on-2. Hill back with Busnick. Merrick over the line. Shot deflected to the right side of Meir. Sets up behind the net as Meir plays it into the near corner. Tonelli is in there. Pulls down McLeish. And we're going to have an Islander penalty. And Bob Myers has really called them very tight tonight as the Islanders pick up the 4th of 7 penalties in this first period. It should be for tripping. And he's going away now at Bob Myers. He says, just go to the box, Bob. For Nystrom, it'll give him just his 21st and 22nd penalty minutes. Or make that Tonelli, I'm sorry. That was the original call as Jimmy Watson on the bench was shaken up on that play. Appeared to be in a little bit of pain as trainer Matt DiProla was looking in on the action. John Tonelli.
Here's penalty to number 27.
Tonelli hooked down Rick McLeish.
For hooking.
He'll get that call. The Flyers' 4th power play, but they haven't been able to get too much offense generated on the man advantage. Had a couple of shots on Billy Smith, but she turned away very easily. But the Islanders have been able to kill the penalties off, and they're not allowing the Flyers to get in and close to Billy Smith. They did Thursday night, and Flyers had great success, but they haven't been able to get in to set up the screen or to even set up some scrambles in front of the goaltender. But Jimmy Watson was shaken up in the plays. Now going to the dressing room where he'll receive some medical attention. Bobby Clark over changing sticks, and they'll be taking the face-off. Clark and Brian Trottier are the 2 best face-off men in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
All right, face-off at the fly line, and McLeish is back now with the alien up front. They have Hill with Clark and Leach, but the play's broken up. Now McLeish tries to penetrate, and that's taken away on ice because, again, the Flyers have lost their rhythm. They're trying to rush. You just can't do that when you're down and the other team playing confidently. All right, 1:40 remaining on the Flyer advantage. 2:52 in the first period. Philadelphia in the hole at 4-0. Shorthanded goal by Henning, and then Trottier and Potvin and Bossy, their big goal getters, all on the power play as Philadelphia penetrates, but offside as Leach went in at just a half a stride before Daly fed him with a pass.
Islanders are stringing themselves right across the blue line. They have all 4 men back there, and the Flyers are trying to carry it in, and it's very difficult when you have 4 men strung across the blue line to carry it through. When you have wingers coming back, the defense are such a key. If they can break up the plays at the blue line, it really helps out the goaltender because you don't get that many shots. But again, Boston getting that low shot to beat Meir on the stick side for the 4th Islander goal.
Trottier putting pressure on Ben Wilson, who goes cross ice in the Flyers end, and McLeish puts it through to Leach at center ice, but he's surrounded by 4 Islanders, slides it down into the right wing corner. Late in there along with Hill. They try to come out, gets it back from Trottier, tries to clear out, kept in by Ben Wilson. Ben Wilson going to go right on in, pushed off nicely by Goring, who poke checks the puck to center ice. And that's tough because Ben Wilson is very strong. A minute left on the Flyer power play. 2:14 in the first period, and they trail 4-0. This is the first championship round playoff game in the history of the Nassau County Coliseum and the Islanders, and they've made hay in the first period. Clark at center ice, trying to find the opening, dumps it in, and Ben Wilson will chase Billy Smith out of the net, deep into the near corner. Just poke checks it away from Wilson, gets back in the net, but Bobby Clark working on it on the near side, tries to get it to Al Hill, who's at the right point. Ben Wilson does to Hill. Hill cutting to the middle of the ice. Shot on Smith, went right over his right shoulder, sets up behind where Ken Morrow tries to get it up to Goring. Played by Ben Wilson, goes cross ice to McLeish, shot to the net, and Billy Smith reaches out to his right and grabs that waist-high shot from the blue line by the Flyers' McLeish with 24 seconds remaining on the Flyer advantage. 1:38 in the first period. New York leading 4-0.
Pat Quinn, Al Arbor, both coaches very calm behind the bench. You can't really tell by the face of either coach who's ahead or who's behind. But Smith has been able to see most of the shots so far. Flyers will vainly try to get that man in front so they can screen him.
All right, Lintzman out with Propp and Holmgren. Busnick will take the right side with Billy Barber remaining out, as though there's little time remaining on the power play. Pat Quinn has to go with his attack as he needs 4 to get even. Trottier will stay out with Bourne. Potvin and Lorimer shot right in on the net.
Smith around the near side and Potvin up to Bourne. Bourne challenged by Busnick, works right past him into center ice, cut off nicely by Holmgren, but Bourne still with the puck and clears into his own zone to Dennis Potvin and across to Lorimer. The Islanders may kill the remainder of the penalty, which has 10 seconds left. Finally, Barber collars it at center, goes cross ice to Busnick, comes through on the right wing for Philadelphia at the Islander line, tries to go back, dumps it offensive right wing corner, gets past Potvin, spins away. Now the Islanders penalty is over. Tonelli out on the near side as Prop goes to the far corner to Linseman. Linseman has Holmgren in front, but it was Billy Smith who reached out to deflect the puck, and here comes Henning along with Bourne and Tonelli over the line. Henning breaking for the net. Bourne's got a pass at the side, and it goes behind as Henning was grabbed by Potvin, or by Busnick, when it goes back to Dennis Potvin. Shot from the blue line is deflected wide with less than a minute remaining in the period. 4-0 Islanders. Teams at full strength with Prop bringing the puck up through to Linseman on the near side at the Islander line. Drops to Prop. Prop's got Holmgren breaking for the net. Make that Gorentz, and Gorentz was pulled down and was hurt. And he may have gotten that stick in there from Lorimer. Out from the far side of the ice, Bob Myers unable to clearly see what happened. But Tommy Gorentz, who was stick checked in there by Lorimer, appeared to get some of that in the...
Actually, it was Bob Nystrom, Gene, back-checking. That came back as Tommy Gorentz was reaching for the puck. Bobby Nystrom went in there to try and pull his stick away, and his stick came up and clipped him. Purely an accident as Nystrom was trying there. Gorentz went down to reach for the pass, but his stick came up and clipped him right above the right eye, or on the right side of the head, and he went right down, and quickly the referee, Myers, blew the whistle as Gorentz is still down along on the ice and being looked at by the Flyers trainer. But it was Nystrom's stick who was back-checking. Gorentz had 2 strides on him, going in and reaching for that pass. He was low. Nystrom's stick came up and clipped him. Gorentz is now out on the ice, being helped off by Matt DiPaolo, and he's over getting... But it was Nystrom just whacked at Tommy Gorentz to the side of the head, and he got clipped. Might be along the ear. Nonetheless, Gorentz will go off to get some medical attention. 37 seconds remaining. 4-0 the Islanders in this first period.
Well, it turned into a small nightmare for Philadelphia. They have a long way to go yet. Certainly can get back in the game, but the power play, which is the thing they did not want to give the Islanders in this playoff. They said they had the best advantage in the league. In fact, Pat Quinn quoted today saying they have perhaps the best 2 units in the league. And the Flyers have been short 16 times in 2 games plus this period, and already the Islanders have chalked up 8 power play goals. In the Flyers' first 13 games, they only gave up 7. Puck down behind the New York net, cleared up on the near side to Tonelli. He misses Holmgren's check, and then Bridgman bumps Langevin, but it's Pearson out of his own far corner. Back to Langevin and up on the near side to Tonelli. Outlet pass to Merrick at center ice will come with Nystrom 2-on-2 at the Flyer line. Check in there by Holmgren, and again it's Nystrom, offensive left wing corner. Trailer right there is Pearson on a drive, and Mir gets it. And the Islanders have not really been drilling tons of shots in on Mir, but the quality of their shots have been exceptional. 3 seconds left in the period. 2-1, and the Islanders, as the period comes to an end, getting a standing ovation as they came out winging in the first period to take a 4-0 lead over the Philadelphia Flyers.
Well, Jane, right now, Ben Wilson took down Tonelli. They had a few words after the play was ended, but they are all going to the dressing room now.
All right, coming up during intermission, Ed Van Impe will be in conversation with the Flyers' Kenny Lynchman, and then our radio listeners will hear me in conversation with Rick St. Croix, goaltender with the Maine Mariners. Well, and later on TV, Pete Silverman has highlights of the final game of the 1974 championship final. Then near the end of our intermission, Chief and Ed will be along for highlights of that opening 20 minutes. Again, the score, the New York Islanders 4 and the Philadelphia Flyers 0.
Guest is Kenny Lensman. And Kenny, the Islanders seem to start real quick tonight. I think that's kind of an understatement, but it kind of started with that shorthanded goal.
Well, anytime a team gets a shorthanded goal on you, you get a little scared, and they got that, and they got the power play goal, and they've been just going ever since.
And it seems that even after that shorthanded goal, they had another opportunity. I think it was Bourne had that good shot. It seems the Flyers were having a hard time getting their power play going, even starting in their own end.
Yeah, we weren't moving when we got the puck. We were all standing around in our own end, and they were able to get on top of us quicker.
Kenny, you mentioned the power play, and it's such a valuable tool in the playoffs. And the Islanders, I know you guys didn't want to pick up the penalties and give them the opportunities. They've had the opportunities tonight, and they've capitalized 3 times.
Oh, I didn't know they had 3, but I guess they've had 3 power plays. They scored all 3 times. We've had 3 too. They got 1 shorthanded and 3 power play goals. So
Kenny, it's tough to explain how a club like the Flyers can have played such a strong game in Philadelphia, a tremendous first period. You come in here to the island, you know you've got to win a game here. What's the reason for the club coming out in the first period basically being flat?
I don't have any idea, really. You know, that I guess maybe the crowd and that maybe everybody was a little, the crowd was pretty loud. I don't know if everybody was a little shocked or what, but we got to get going here. We got to get a couple goals and get back in there.
Kenny, what can we expect from the Flyers in the second and third periods?
Well, hopefully we'll get on top of their defense and, get a little forechecking going and take the game to them.
My guest has been Kenny Linzman. Now back to Gene Hart.
Thank you, gentlemen. And before we continue, we're going to pause for station identification on the Flyers Hockey Network.
Flyers lead the Stanley Cup Finals 3-2. And they bring on Kate Smith with a Spectrum record of 36-3-1. Flyers had another friend. Art Skov was the referee, and the Flyers hadn't lost in the total season of 1973-74 while Skov was on the ice. The going was tough early. Great goaltending at both ends. Bernie Perrott with a stop on Don Marcotte, and Ed Van Imp cleared the puck. Another effort from the right point by Terry O'Reilly with a skate save, and then the great Bobby Orr put one on net, and again the skate of Bernie Perrott. The Flyers had a chance early as Bobby Clark fed Rick McLeish. McLeish went in the circle in front, and the puck went across the goal mouth and hit the post, and then Gilles Gilbert covered up. Bobby Orr and Bobby Clark, two superstars, went at it, and Orr threw his glove right in Clark's face. But still, no score. The Flyers and Bruins in Game 6 at the Spectrum. And then in the first period, McLeish won a draw. He sent it back to DuPont, and goal for the Flyers past Gilbert as Moose DuPont did the shuffle. And the goal was credited to Rick McLeish. After taking the face-off in the right circle in the Boston zone, he cut across the slot. And he just did get a piece of Moose DuPont shot at 5:12 of the first period, with each team a man short. DuPont with a low shot, and McLeish with the tip-in past Gilbert. Of course, no one knew at that point that that would be the only goal of the afternoon, the goal which won the first Stanley Cup for the Flyers. The goaltending was great from there on in. Crisp fed Clement in the first period. Clement all alone, and he was stoned by Gilbert. Billy Barber put one on net, and a rebound attempt was also steered wide. Lonsbury had another chance, and Bobby Orr slid across, and then Clement was stopped by Gilbert on a backhander in tight. Terry Crisp with a slap shot from the bottom of the right circle. And Lonsbury again as he tried to put it in. But Dallas Smith came along to take him out of the play. Going into the third period, still 1-0, and Perrott saved the day with a great glove save on Phil Esposito. Carol Vadnais fought for the puck behind the net. Then Bobby Orr again from the right point. And Perrott was there as Wayne Cashman tried to put the rebound home. Then with less than 3 minutes to go, Bobby Clark was pulled down on a breakaway by Bobby Orr. Art Skov whistled the penalty, and Orr, irate, refused to go to the penalty box, but finally was calmed by his teammates. That came with 2:22 to go. And the Flyers kept the pressure on. Lonsberg with a backhander from the slot as Gilbert had to stay in the net. And the minutes and seconds went by very slowly as the Flyers on their way to their first Stanley Cup. Joe Watson went behind the net, picked up the puck, and it was all over. The Flyers had captured the first Stanley Cup ever by an expansion team, and Bernie Parent was voted MVP of the 1974 playoffs. The final score, Flyers 1 and Boston nothing. The Flyers winning their first Stanley Cup, the first of 2 in a row. This is Pete Silverman. Our intermission activities will continue after these messages.
Along with
Coliseum in Nassau County, Uniondale, New York. 4-0 Islanders after 1. 7 penalties in that first period. 4 to the Island. But on one of those 4 to Sutter, the game's first penalty, they scored the shorthanded goal by Henning. And then when the Flyers picked up the penalty to Bob Kelly, Potvin scored. Then Philadelphia 2 successive penalties to McLeish and Daly. 32 seconds apart, left them 2 men short. Trottier got a goal on the 2-man advantage at 13:04. And a minute 25 seconds later, Bossy picked up the goal on the second half of that double minor to Philadelphia with Daly off. And bingo, it became 4-0. As in that first period, Henning is third, all short-handed. Potvin is fourth, 3 of them against Philadelphia. Trottier is 10th, and Bossy is 8th. The shots were 12-9 for the Island. Next game, Monday night here. 4th game of the playoffs, the Stanley Cup Finals, 8 o'clock our starting time on the radio and television network. All right, Kelly is out now on the right side with Propp and Lintzman. As we look to the bench to see perhaps why Paul Holmgren isn't out there. Now up ice, the Flyers have the puck come into their zone. Boom, we're going to have an icing called. And Bobby, you've just joined us. Paul Holmgren's place on the wing has been taken by Bob Kelly, and I don't see Paul on the bench.
Well, the Flyers lost Tommy Gorns at the end of the first period when he was clipped by Bob Nystrom's stick, but he's back out on the ice. As you mentioned, Gene Holmgren's not out there as of yet.
Well, we'll just have to guess as to the reason for his absence. All right, the Goring line is out with Bourne and Gillies, Dennis Potvin with Bob Lorimer. Offensive right circle face-off for Philadelphia. Top 3 scorers in the playoff. Trottier with 24 points, 3 behind the playoff individual record. Perreault and the Flyers' Bill Barber. Puck at center ice. Pressure putting on by Gillies against Ben Wilson. Then Bob Bourne did a little razzle-dazzle at the Flyer line, hoping to get both of his wingers onside, but took it in and caught Gillies in still too soon. 20 seconds gone. Second period, 4-0. The Islanders lead.
Well, Bob Bourne has been their big scorer, playoff-wise or goal-wise. He's picked up 10. 5 of them in on the power play, and I don't think he scored a power play goal against Philadelphia as of yet.
Ben Wilson behind the Philadelphia net. Swings out, looks for McIllargy up along the near side. Can't get out. We're going to have Goring on the right circle. Get a shot on Meir. Wide of the short side, and ricochets back to the point where Potvin whistles one in. Rebound by Gillies, a shot. Rebound by Potvin is blocked in front. All of that is an opportunity play, and Propp ices it. Says enough of that. Gillies will get the deep rebound along his own defensive left wing side, and play comes back in the Flyers' zone.
Well, right now, Philadelphia very conscious of that 4-goal lead. They can't afford to let the Islanders get any more. They have a big road to hoe right now to get back in the game. So anytime that they are having a little bit of difficulty getting that puck out there, making sure. And Brian Propp did the wise thing of firing that puck the length of the ice just to make sure that there was no extra pressure put on his team in the zone and the goaltender Meir.
Right, we have Bossy out with Bourne and Trottier. Trottier and Bossy each power play goals in the first period, and they have Morrow back with Lane. Puck behind the Flyer net. Bob Daly up to Leach. Leach just deflects it past Lane and takes a stiff bump from the Islander defenseman in his own end. New York clears it to the Flyer line. Dupont has it, goes cross ice at center. Bob Daly, the Karen, looks up through and passes through Clark into the New York end. And it is Bourne getting it up on the near side to Bossy. Stripped to the puck by Bill Barber, and then has it taken away by Morrow. And up ice the Flyers. Dupont tries to make a move inside lane toward the slot, but loses control of the puck, and New York dumps the center.
We're going to have a penalty against the Islanders. The upraised hand, Billy Smith touches up, and it's going to be a slash, and boom. Off an Islanders wave. They have 5 of the game's 8 penalties. Power play for Philadelphia coming up with 18:39 remaining second period. 4-0 Islanders.
Gordy Lane picks up the slashing minor at 1:21. As Gene mentioned, the Flyers will be on their 5th power play, and that's one thing. Bobby Clark got a good check in on the Islander John Tonelli, knocking him down, and then Lane picked up the slashing call on DuPont.
Shot hit the post to the left of Billy Smith by Bob Daly as he really uncorked one. Now Goring tries to lift it out along the near side, does, but Clark cuts him off, plays back to his own right wing side of the Flyer line to Daly. Up ice through to Hill, challenging Lorimer. Holds inside the line. Now cuts back straight away to Barber. Circle shot. Save in front. Hill with the rebound. Drives it wide of the net. And behind the net, Hill tries to control. Does into the offensive left wing corner. Back to the left point to Barber. Right side pass to Daly. Drive on the net. And Smith left-handed glove save, and he hangs on for the stoppage of play.
Flyers are getting their shots away from the point, but there has been nobody in front to screen Smith. He's been able to see them most of the time. Daly had an excellent shot that rattled off the post. Then got another good shot, which was a little high, and Smith made the glove save. But the Flyers have to capitalize on their power play chances. They had great success in the power play against Minnesota, and in the first 2 games against the Islanders, they had good success. But tonight, it has seemed to have gone dry for them so far.
Goring and Trottier out with Potvin and Lorimer, and the Flyers still with Hill and Leach centered by Clark. Barber at the left point, Daly to right. Offensive right circle face-off. Clark gets the puck. It goes back to Daly, retreats, trying to draw over his man, then feeds into the corner, but Leach has it taken away by Potvin of the Islanders, who sends it all the way down. 1:20 left on the advantage as the Islanders bring out Henning now. As Clark up through from Barber at center ice. Rink wide pass to Daly. Back to Barber over the line. Left circle drive. And Billy Smith gets that one right in the breadbasket. And Potvin on the rebound sends it down. Unclear indication again. Bobby saying they're getting the first shot, but no screens and no rebounds. 1 minute remaining on the advantage. Henning out along with Bourne and Potvin with Lorimer. And the Flyers have Gorens out now along with McLeish and Bridgman. Through at the Islander line. Bridgman has it taken away by Henning. Lost at center where Bourne will go back deep into his own zone. Near side pass is lifted to center, and again we've had no word, unless Bobby has had any notation, as to the reason for the absence of Paul Holmgren. Puck into the Islander zone. McLeish slaps it into the left wing corner. Billy Smith on the carom gets it off the Potvin. He's tied up. It's pivots left, comes to the near side. Bourne tries to get it past Billy Barber, and it flips up into the seats along the near side. We'll have a face-off at the top of the Flyers' offensive left wing circle. 26 seconds remaining on the penalty to Gordy Lane of the Islanders. 3 minutes gone, second period, 4-0 New York.
Billy Barber, an excellent playoff. 4 game-winning goals in the total of 12 that he has, and he leads all goal scorers for these 2 teams in the playoffs with 12. He's also picked up 20 points coming into tonight, put him just 3 behind the leading point man in the playoffs, Brian Trottier.
All right, Gorens out with Bridgman on the left wing, centered by McLeish with Barber and Ben Wilson. 26 seconds. Barber at the point, strips for the puck. Ben Wilson falls down. The Islanders a 2-on-1. Trottier going right on in, and it lost the puck on a feed from Goring to the left of Meir. The backhand pass bounced through him as Ben Wilson fell down. McLeish going right through the goal mouth, and Goring was there to tap it off the side of the Flyer net. Now it's up ice to Bridgman and through to Gorens at center. He has trouble holding it. Goes left wing to McLeish. Toward the net to Gorens. He's in. Shot. Rebound. Bridgman. And he shot it over the top of the net from Billy Smith's left as he was all by himself. Here comes Gordy Lane out of the penalty box at the Flyer line. Drops to Trottier. He's in. Shot wide of the net as he was really the trailer and had near. Hung up. The Flyers, McLeish back up at center. Through at the Islander line. Pivots to the near side. Runs into traffic in Tommy Gorens, and all he can do is clear it in behind the New York net. Quickly, Langevin up on the right side, and here comes Maestrom. Right circle, Whistler, and Meir grabs, plays down behind the net. As we go back the other way, the Islanders changing on the go. They go up through to Lindstrom. Islanders pick him up at the blue line, trying to get in through past Tonelli and can't. Then it's stripped by Daly from Tonelli to Lindstrom over the line on the near side. Rink wide pass. Prop is in. He's got Kelly in front. Tip shot. It was blocked by Billy Smith as the pass was deflected. Kelly in front. He shot. Billy Smith comes up strong again as the Flyers drop back. Went out gambling. Here comes Maestrom with Tonelli 2-on-2. Maestrom against McIllargy. Gets right on in. He's going to have a backhander swept off his stick beautifully at the last second as we go end to end. Puck at the blue line. Potvin into the circle. Trailer playing a shot. In on net. Beautiful play off the stick by Merrick. Drive from the blue line. Save. Rebound in front. And it's tipped wide. Back to the left point. Dennis Puckman. Toward the net. Lystrom tips it in on the net. Beautiful save. Off the initial drive by Merrick. Top of the play. Wide open. Bang, bang hockey with 15:23 remaining in a scoreless second period, and the Islanders leading 4-0.
Announcing Ford's incredible offer, the broadest cash assistance program for car buyers.
We've just received word that both Jimmy Watson and Paul Holmgren have re-aggravated old injuries and might not be back, or probably not back, for the rest of this hockey game.
Out a shot to the Philadelphia net as he's out there now, along with Sutter and Trottier. DuPont stealing it away in the Flyer corner, wrapping it around to the far point, but Langevin will keep it in. Drives to the net, hits Mir through a screen, and the Flyers with a rebound. Clark trying to come out on the near side. Is stopped by Pearson. Tries a second time. Stopped this time by Bossy. Bossy along the right wing into the near corner. Finally, Bridgman gets it out along the right wing side. So the Flyers are bereft of Jimmy Watson and Paul Holmgren. And up on the far side, the Islanders are leading. A good check in there on the Islander defenseman by Busnick, but New York controls, and Pearson back and forth, corner to corner with Langevin. It goes up to Trottier, and he sends it all the way down. It'll be an icing if DuPont gets there first in front of Gary Howard, and he does. Howard just misses the check as DuPont got to stick up a little bit to protect himself. Howard took the bump, and they both skate casually back the other way on the icing.
Well, Gary Howard, when Fred Wilson tangled in Philadelphia, Wilson picking up 6 minutes in penalties. Howard didn't get any. But the Flyers without those two players, Watson and Holmgren, and they're big keys for Philadelphia. Watson, who plays so well defensively, and Holmgren, who has been just a standout throughout the playoffs, are big holes to fill in these final 2 periods.
Jimmy Watson, you recall, was injured on the play when Tonelli picked up a penalty in the first period for pulling down McLeish. Puck in front to Bridgman. There's a drive. Shot wide by Goran. Right in the slot. And he had Billy Smith hung up. Now the Islanders on the near side see the puck slide through into the Philadelphia zone. Busnick up through the middle to Leach. Leach trying to find Bridgman off the stick down behind the Islander net. Bourne in there with Bridgman. Boom, good check on Bourne. Pearson is in there as they kick the puck free to the Islander defenseman. Up to Trottier on the far side. Beaten to it by Busnick, but finally Bourne flying in center for New York at the Philadelphia line. Over the line. Circles at the boards, holds, waits for the trailer, fires it down behind the Philadelphia net. Up, Bossy's left to pick up the play alone, looks to center, grabbed off by Bossy, and the puck, or by Busnick, and the puck is slid to center ice as they screen penalty here on Busnick for pulling down Bossy. Now Trottier on the near side is stripped to the puck by Clark, lays it off to Mike Busnick, through at the Islander line. Can't find an opening as they have all 4 men with one trailer stretched across that line to keep the Flyers away. Philadelphia now bringing out Dorrance along with Hill and McLeish as the Islanders come up the center ice. Howard dumping it into the offensive right wing corner. Going in there is Bossy, tied up by his counterpoint, number 22, Dorrance. They collide as Bossy still gets it in on the pass to net. Taken off by Mir and away to Hill at center ice. Cleared away from Hill by Lane from Morrow, and back over the line comes Goring. Goring, as he's got a man shooting for the net. That was Gillies. Shoots in on Mir. The save is made. McIllargy behind the net as the puck comes off his side again on a dangerous play, and Mir was able to collar it as Ben Wilson and McIllargy put a sandwich squeeze on big Clark Gillies.
A lot of play around close to that net. That puck bouncing around very dangerously. Mir making sure that he had that pad and skate tight up against the post so it couldn't sneak by him and force the face-off. But Flyers, when they're at full strength, seem to play a lot better than they against the Islanders. In fact, the Islanders have had very little luck in scoring. And the Flyers and the Islanders are playing full strength. It's the power play that has given the Islanders most of their goals in these 3 games.
Well, they have 8 power play goals and a shorthanded goal, Bobby, in the 11 that they've scored against Philadelphia. So they've only scored 2 even strength goals. 1 by Goring and 1 by Mike Bossy.
Pat Quinn will have to do a lot of juggling now, Gene. He has 5 defensemen left, which is lucky he dressed 6, but he'll really have to juggle on the right wing.
Puck down behind the Philadelphia net. McIllargy chased by Tonelli. Still brings it up on the right side. Gets past Nystrom. Stripped to the puck by Tonelli, who turns at the center ice circle for New York. Tries to dump it in. Gets it back on the carom. He's over the line. Left circle shot. McIllargy went down to block it. It caromed in off the near corner on Mir. Nice check in on Ben Wilson by Merrick. The puck slides free back to the point to Langevin. Toward the net. Blocked off. Islanders in front. Merrick has the backhand. Now he's got a forced out. Oh, it hit the side of the net.
as he really showed patience there and waited for the opening as McLeish comes back for Philadelphia at the Islander line. Over the line, up the middle, into the right wing corner. Goes behind as Langevin just took him off the play enough to take away the shot. And finally, the Islanders' Merrick gets it up ice trying to headman Tonelli, but it'll be an icing call as it goes the length of the surface, touched up by Andre Dupont. 12:18 remaining in the scoreless second period with the Islanders leading 4-0.
The play so far in the second period has become a lot closer checking. It's been a strange series, as you mentioned, Gene. Very high scoring, something you would not expect in the Stanley Cup final.
Rob Barber and Lintzman out with Daly and Dupont. Offensive right circle face-off, and Daly's right in at the top of the circle. He hit the post early in this period. Flyers' best scoring opportunity. And then they came on after that to have some good drives. Tommy Gorns right in the slot seemed to miss the net when he had Smith down. Barber now in there. Puck goes behind the net. Lintzman and Dennis Potvin, the Islander defenseman, up on the near side to Lorimer. He fails to get it up ice. Blocked by Pratt. Still screens it off. Bourne in there to help. Now Pratt comes out, tries to center it. Blocked by Bourne back in the near corner to Lintzman. Lintzman's pass as he's rubbed out by Lorimer is taken off by the Islanders. They fail to clear as Dupont taps it into the far corner. But it's Potvin up ice looking for Goring. Goring with Bourne, but Dupont loses it. Goring right on in. The puck slid off the stick right in on Mir as he appeared to be in on a breakaway. While we have a stoppage, we'll remind you we'll be back here for Game 4 on Monday night at 8 o'clock from the Veterans Coliseum, Uniondale, Nassau County, New York.
That puck bouncing out quite a bit in the second period. It did a little bit in the first. The ice might be a little bit soft with all the people in the building. The temperature would be very hot at ice level.
All right, Lintzman taking the draw against Merrick was on with Sutter, or make Goring with Gillies and Sutter. Dupont abound behind his own net. Looks out cautiously up the slot for Prop, off the stick all the way down the ice. Goes over the Islander goal line. The trailing official Scapinello has his hand up. John D'Amico signals icing with 11:38 remaining. Scoreless second period. 4-0 Islanders. Henning on the shorthanded play, and then in quick order on the power play, Potvin. Trottier, while the Flyers were 2 men down, and then on the succeeding 1-man short, Bossy got it.
Bob Lorimer has been a very steadying influence on the defense for the Islanders. He plays similar to a former Islander defenseman, Dave Lewis, who the New York team traded to Los Angeles. But he has been teamed with Dennis Potvin throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs, and he's chipped in with 4 points, one of those a goal. Very, very steady performer.
Leach, Clark, and Kelly, along with Daly and Dupont, and Howard on with Bossy centered by Trottier, with Gordy Lane and Ken Morrow. Face off in the Flyers' defensive left wing circle. Might point out that the off-ice officials tonight are from the Garden in New York, the New York Rangers. Up the slot, it's off Clark's skate, kept in by Bossy. Rink-wide pass, Howard has got a man at the side of the net. Trottier right out in front, of stop a rebound. Oh, Howard didn't go in. Second shot by Bossy as Howard appeared to have Mir down and measured. But the Flyers came up with a play, and Mir with a big save to keep it 4-0. Kelly out on the right wing, and it skips through past Leach, who had a half a stride on Gordy Lane. The Islander fenceman getting it through from his own left wing corner back into the near side of the Flyers zone as Dupont gets it up to Kelly. He can't handle it. Morrow is stripped by Leach, and it's Clark coming 2-on-2 with Kelly. Drops to Daly. He's in. Drive, and it's just wide of Smith right with Kelly there trying to get a piece of it. Dupont is shot blocked, and we have a break for the Islanders. Bossy going in on the right side alone. He's in. Pass, shot, wide of the net by Howard. Bossy tried to get it in front again as Bossy waited too long, and when Howard got the play, he had skated past the net. Trottier out of the offensive left wing corner to the point to Gordy Lane. Shot toward the net, blocked by Leach, and Cairns through off the Flyer winger into center ice. Lots of action in this second period, and the furor would be even heavier had the Flyers been able to get closer. They trail 4-0. Pass in on Mir, clears it out away from Nystrom to Mel Bridgman. Bridgman retreating from Merrick, comes to center ice, doesn't get it out. Going in is Pierce on his shot, and that hit Bridgman in the leg and sent out to center ice to Bob Kelly 1-on-1 against Langevin. Shot, Billy Smith, easy save. Clears it off to the far side, and it's trapped by Bridgman behind the Islander net. Dug out there by Langevin up to Nystrom. It'll go the length of the ice as Nystrom couldn't handle it, and we'll have an icing as Busnick for Philadelphia out from his bench makes the touch-up with exactly 10 minutes remaining. Scoreless second period, with the Islanders leading 4-0.
Injuries. Watson re-injured a shoulder. Holmgren re-injured a knee, so they're still uncertain for the remainder of this game.
All right, Al Hill is at center with Bridgman on the left wing and Gorens on the right. Busnick and Wilson the defense. And the Islanders have Merrick out with Nystrom and Bourne, and defensively they have Pearson on the near side. And Langevin on the far. Offensive left circle face-off. Bridgman flips it right off the draw, and Billy Smith grabs eye high. If this were the opening period, you'd say it's a great hockey game if they've gone end-to-end and both goalers have been called upon to make big saves. But the Islanders, of course, with that big 4 spot in the first period and lead by that margin. 4-0. We're just at the halfway point of regulation time. Now the puck at the side of the Islander net, wound up to Bourne. He can't get out. Blocked by Busnick deep in on the Flyers' offensive right wing side. And we got a stoppage of play with a face-off in the offensive right wing circle.
Tommy Gorns received 5 stitches on his right side of his neck with the stick of Bob Nystrom, and just near the end of this first period. 5 stitches to close the wound on his neck.
Merrick against Bridgman. Puck won by the Islanders. Langevin stops in his own left wing corner, reverses, and will come out on that side as they left the opening. Walked by Bridgman, tied up at center ice, but Merrick follows it up and clears it all the way into the Philadelphia zone. The rebound off the deflection in the board is taken by Tommy Gorns in front of the net. Played off his skate by Ben Wilson. And Merrick, as Gorns falls down, has to make a charge in it as Meir up along the near side to Ben Wilson, but the play is broken up. Now Merrick at the blue line tries to shove it into the offensive right wing corner to Tonelli. Tonelli slowed down and grabbed and taken off the play by. Now we got a fight in front. Busnick and Bobby Nystrom.
Nystrom and Busnick came together in front of the net, and Nystrom's throwing most of the punches as Busnick's trying to tie him up. Nystrom's got that right hand free and has really laid the right hands on Mike Busnick. They both came together in front of Phil Meir. They dropped their gloves. Busnick trying vainly to hold on and tie up Bob Nystrom. Nystrom got that right hand free and started landing right hands very prominent on Busnick's head. Now Persson and Wilson are making threatening gestures towards each other. They're wrestling around. The linesmen have the original combatants separated. Nystrom for the Islanders and Mike Busnick for the Flyers. Busnick wasn't able to throw a punch. Nystrom got in a good half-dozen right hands. Now Wilson and Persson are still messing around with each other. Wilson has the right hand free. Linesmen are quickly over now that they have Nystrom and Busnick in the penalty box. And they've grabbed the 2 players. Tonelli was in it to try and grab Wilson. He'll grab Tonelli away from Ben Wilson.
I think the Flyers have to be careful with Watson gone and Busnick in for at least 5 that Ben Wilson doesn't pick up a 10-minute misconduct along with Pearson for game delay.
While they're getting penalties, Bob Myers has signaled them both.
All right, while we pick up the additional penalties in the original call, 9:15 remain in the scoreless second period with the Islanders leading 4-0.
Of the Flyers, and Persson for the Islanders will pick up minors, more than likely for roughing. Busnick of the Flyers and Bob Nystrom of the Islanders will pick up majors for fighting. 5 minutes.
Number 23.
Time of these penalties, 10:45.
And number 7, Stephen Pearson, 2 minutes for roughing.
2 roughing for Ben Wilson and Stephen Persson, and 5 minutes majors for fighting to Mike Busnick and Bob Nystrom.
Nystrom 5 for fighting. Pearson.
Actually, it's the first fight we've had in the game. Everybody thought that the game tonight in this first game here would be an awful lot more, as the teams were expected to come out to really hit at each other, but it came out. They got a lot of penalties early. Bob Myers called a lot of penalties early, but they were for hooking, tripping, holding, interference, the type that you wouldn't expect. Non-body contact penalties.
All right, all told in the game, there are 12 penalties, 7 to the Islanders. Nystrom 27 minutes total, Busnick 21, Pearson 12, and Ben Wilson, who leads the Flyers with 60 minutes on this playoff year. Looking for something to do this summer? Well, the All-Star Hockey Camp at the Radnor Rink begins its 9th season Monday, June 30th. Paul Holmgren and Tom Gorns are just 2 of the Flyer instructors who will be on the ice teaching you to play the game. Full day camp privileges include swimming. For further information, call the All-Star Hockey Camp at the Radnor Rink, 527-1231. So for the first time in the game, they'll play at the plated strength but even on the ice, 4-a-side, as Al Arbour has to be much happier about things tonight as he's winning the battle of goals 4-0 in his own building.
Well, Potvin saying something to Bob Myers, the referee. I don't understand what that is about. I think they're thinking that the faceoff should go in deeper in the Flyer zone, right at the faceoff dot, because that's where the majors occurred.
Actually, recall Tonelli and Ben Wilson were going at it in the Flyers' defensive left wing corner. All right, the puck comes to center as Merrick is out with Tonelli, and they have Potvin on with Lorimer as Clark putting pressure on the Islander defense in their own zone. Lorimer chased by Clark, gives it away around to the far corner. Leach is there. He tries to go back, but Potvin beats him and starts out with Tonelli, and Merrick 3-on-2 with Barber back with Daly. Drop pass on the near side is taken off by Clark. Looks up ice, but then holds the puck as he waits for Barber to make a play, and then it's broken up by the Islanders. Tonelli, Potvin controlling at his own line. 8:45 remaining second period as the Islanders go up ice with it. New York leading 4-0 on first period goals by Henning shorthanded and Potvin, Bossy, and Trottier on the power play. Here in the second period, we've had fighting majors and a couple of minors to Wilson and Pearson, so they're playing at four aside as skaters out there. Now Daly over the line, shot toward the net. Billy Smith. Daly came closest to scoring for Philadelphia in this period by hitting the post. Now the Flyers almost beaten up ice as they have McLeish out there. Play very aimless now. Weak pass taken into the zone by Trottier. He's got Bourne as a trailer. Goes around behind the net to the offensive right wing corner. Looks to make a play back on the near side. Tied up in there by McLeish. By Billy Barber, who digs it out. Goes to his own right wing boards, and it caroms to his own right wing circle for McLeish. As the Flyers now have Barber out there along with McLeish, Daly, and Hill. As Billy Barber at the Islander line. Though he's a forward, I think Barber's playing the defensive position with the Flyers. Watson gone and Busnick and Ben Wilson in the penalty box. Puck driven to the right wing corner, and Howard loses it in front to Hill. Hill tried to go on the backhander and lost the puck, and out come the Islanders. Up on the near side, they've got Trottier with Howard on his right. Now there's lane breaking for the net, but Trottier holds, goes back to the left point. Ken Morrow going in, shot blocked off to the side of the net, and Muir tries to poke it loose. It comes out in front. Trottier slap shot. That's blocked off by Dupont, who can't find the handle. The Islanders go into the offensive left wing corner to Howard. Back to the left point, then it goes right through Gordy Lane as the penalties are over. Ben Wilson and Pearson come out, and they're even at full strength. Now Hill steals from Wilson. Going right on in. Shot! Oh, saved by Smith.
Ben Wilson came out of the penalty box and knocked Ken Morrow away from the puck. Morrow did not see him coming out. That allowed Al Hill to move in on Billy Smith, and Billy Smith came up with a big save. It appeared that it was by him, but he was able to get the glove on. Wilson knocking the puck free. Al Hill just quickly pounced on the loose disc and came in with a good low shot. But it was the glove trailing Billy Smith that had stopped the puck and landed up in behind his pad. Smith didn't realize he had it, looked behind him, but that big glove was the part of his equipment that saved the day. That man in the penalty box really is important. When you come out, you have to know how many seconds are left in that penalty. That's the job of the goaltender, to yell at you to make sure you know he's coming out. Morrow didn't see him, didn't hear anything, and that allowed the Hill to walk in, and Smith came up with a big save.
Well, it remains 4-0 as Smith, who couldn't find the answer to keeping him away on Tuesday and Thursday as he gave the Flyers 9 goals in 5 periods of play, have held him off the board tonight, and he's been called upon to make a half a dozen good ones. Now Ben Wilson's the left point shot in on the net. Billy Smith kicks it away as it didn't have full mustard on it, and the Islanders' Potvin having trouble, goes around to his own left wing side. Gillies is tied up by Gorence, and we'll get a stoppage of play halfway into the Flyers' offensive right wing boards. 6:52 remaining in a scoreless second period, and the Islanders leading 4-0.
It's really becoming a close checking game now. They've had a couple of open shots, but most of the time the players are playing very cautiously. The Islanders do not need any more goals if the score stands the same way as it is now, and so they're just making sure that they are very strong in their own zone and that they make sure that they have their men.
All right, Goring gets the draw from Linsman. Ben Wilson tries to make a play, but it kicks into the Islanders' defensive left wing corner where Langevin plays around to the near side for Bourne. Back to Pearson. It'll go right back to where the play started from. Langevin in his own left wing corner. To Gillies. Nice carry in the center ice to Goring. Gets past Linsman. Has trouble and has to go back to Pearson through, and we're going to have a penalty against the Flyers against Linsman. Gillies in front to Goring. Can't find the handle. Now he does. In toward the net, and Muir grabs, and we're going to have the call, I believe, against Linsman. Let's pick up the play in the near corner. As we had everybody gathering, and Ben Wilson throws a punch at Gillies. And there would be two heavyweight champions going at it. They've been separated. And as it is cooled off, I think they're both going off. That'll leave the Flyers 2 men short to the Islanders 1. With 6:28 remaining in the scoreless second period, it's the Islanders 4 and the Flyers no score.
picked up the original penalty for high sticking Butch Goring. But after the whistle was called, Gillies came in, and now he's been assessed a minor penalty for roughing. Time of these penalties, 13:32. Wilson for the Flyers, high sticking. Clark Gillies of the Islanders, roughing.
Well, Flyers got a break there, I think, Bobby. I thought for a minute they were going to be 2 men down to the Islanders 1.
Well, not necessarily. Gillies came in and initiated the roughing call on Wilson, but it was the high stick call originally as Wilson, or Lintzman, tried to take Goring out. Goring sidestepped him very neatly. Then in the ensuing play, Wilson was back checking, got a stick up very high on Butch Goring, and that's when Bob Myers signaled the minor call against the Flyer defenseman. And then after the whistle, Gillies came in to make sure that Wilson knew that he wasn't going to tolerate any of that against his smaller players.
Penalties in the first period were 4 Islanders, 3 Philadelphia. It's the same ratio in the second, 4 Islanders, 3 Philadelphia. New York has 8 of the game's 14. They'll play 5 aside on the ice. 4 skaters apiece as Lintzman is out there along with Clark, Daly, and Barber. Flyers going with that extra forward back at the defense with the Flyers really short-handed on defense. Now Clark is stripped of the puck. Henning comes up ice, but Clark fights him off for it at the Flyer line, gets it through to Barber. Back to Clark, and he'll start through into the neutral zone with Lintzman on his right. Lintzman through at the New York line, has trouble handling the puck, and Clark to his right goes in offside. 1:34 remaining on the penalties to Clark Gillies of the Islanders, and the Flyers Ben Wilson. 6:02 left in a scoreless second period. The Islanders on top 4-0.
One thing Al Arbor has been doing, he's put out Lauren Henning and Gary Howard, people that don't get that much ice time at full strength, to kill penalties. And he second substitute with Trottier or another regular. But what he does is that gives the other players a little extra rest. Clark and Lintzman and Barber and Bridgman are out all the time for Philadelphia.
Well, Barber, the Flyers having Busnick in the box with Wilson, and Watson out of the game with an injury, are down to 2 defensemen, Daly and DuPont. So Barber isn't just out there as a Bourne Steele's going to go right in on Meir. Backhand shot on the save, and now we're going to have the penalty. And Philadelphia is now going to be short 2 men to 1 for the Island, as Bob Bourne used that little extra burst of speed to lead his man, and we had the hook there. And so it comes, Lintzman will go off. And it comes at 5:45, so the Islanders, who are 3 for 3 on the power play, get their 4th opportunity all told in the game in their first here in the second period.
Slashing's the call against Kenny Lintzman at 14:15 as he tried to get the puck away and around behind Bob Bourne. Both of them have excellent speed. Bourne was using his body very well to try and screen Lintzman away from the puck so they could get a shot away on Phil Meir. He did. It almost trickled by him in the short side post, but he was able to cover up Phil Meir. Nonetheless, Lintzman slashing minor at 14:15. The Flyers will be a man short.
Islanders, Bobby, 3 for 3 tonight with a shorthanded goal. And on the series, you ready? They are 8 for 16 on the power play. So they'll go with Bossy and Trottier up front, Pearson and Dennis Potvin back. Flyers have lost Watson and Holmgren for the night with aggravated injuries. They have Busnick along with Ben Wilson in the penalty box, so they really only have 2 defensemen, and they're both out there now, DuPont and Daly. Islanders will charge through at the line. Potvin, left wing. He's got Pearson in. And now he's got Bossy breaking for the net, but he goes behind instead. Bossy picks it up to the right point. Potvin measured to Bossy at the side of the net, but couldn't control the puck. He's taken down as he fell on the bump by DuPont, and he rolls it along the far side. Trottier has it back to the left point. Pearson off to the near side as the Flyers putting good heat on. Into Bossy along the right wing corner at the goal line to the left of Meir. Back to Potvin along the board. Goes left side to Pearson. Bounces off the stick. Each team will get a man back in 40 seconds. Flyers 2 men in the box, and finally the Islanders on excellent play by Philadelphia's Bridgman, DuPont, and Daly. The Islanders lose at the center, and now Potvin will make the charge again over the line. He's joined by Trottier, goes back instead at the point to Pearson. He's in, shot, saved by Meir, and it bounces to the near side, cleared back to the point. Bossy looks to the net, trying to find a man, goes to the side. There's Trottier in there, a shot, and Meir beat them as Trottier tried to drag his leg off and go to the short side. Islanders control into the left wing boards. There's Potvin, straight away to Potvin, and now to Trottier, and his shot is covered by Meir as Daly really drilled Potvin down to the ice heavily on the far side.
Flyers are moving the puck around and putting good pressure on the puck area that the Islanders have out there. And Phil Meir has made a number of big saves, and you have to have that goaltender come up for you when you're 2 men short. He has to make that big save. It's almost a 4-on-4 with the goaltender in there. He's the one that has to get those clear shots, and Mir's been doing that very well. Trottier especially. As he waited and waited, he beat Mir on one shot in the first period when he waited and got it by, but Mir was quicker this time, expecting that little hesitation by the Islander forward.
Well, Philadelphia will use Barber and Clark with McIlhargey. We overlooked, Jack, when I said only DuPont and Daly left. McIlhargey was over there, so they really had three defensemen able to come on ice. We have 5 seconds remaining on the penalties to the Islanders' Clark Gillies and to Philadelphia's Ben Wilson. 48 on the minor to Kenny Linsman. And, of course, Busnick still in with Nystrom serving out their 5-minute majors for fighting. Pearson remains on with Potvin, and it's Bourne with Goring against Clark, McIlhargey, and Barber. Puck in the near corner. Barber around behind the net, checked by Goring. Now McIlhargey's in there, tries to break away, but Barber comes out with it. Up to Clark, and he tried to hit Wilson at center, but it's picked off there by Pearson. Through on the left side. Gillies is going to get a left circle whistle. Score!
Have scored their 4th power play. Clark Gillies with a blistering drive from between the circles and the blue line, just inside the far goal post to Phil Mears left. And the Islanders have opened up a 5-0 lead. 4 straight power play goals by the Islanders have given them that margin, along with 1 shorthanded goal. Clark Gillies picking up his 5th of the playoffs. Time of the goal, 15:42.
The time of the goal, 15:41.
41, rather.
5th of the playoffs from Stephen Pearson at 15:41.
5-0 Philadelphia, so the Islanders boost their lead. As up ice they come again. Tonelli against McIlhargey, picked up by McLeish. Tonelli fights for the puck in the far corner toward the net, and Howard was there, but Bob Kelly cut the puck off, but fails to get it out. Stolen by Merrick. Back to Lane at the point. His shot grabbed by Mir, wide of the net, but grabbed to hold control. 3:56 remaining in the second period, and the Islanders breezing 5 to the Flyers, nothing.
Scored power play goals against the Minnesota North Stars. Now it's the Islanders' turn to turn the trick against the Philadelphia. 4 power play goals.
Actually, they're now 9 for 17, Bobby. That's better than 50%. Up ice they come. Ben Wilson through with Kelly to Gorance. Off his skate down into the offensive left wing corner for Philadelphia. Gary Howard circles there, chased by Gorance and by McLeish. Tied up, tries to go back the other way behind the net, and there's Gordy Lane. Losing it to Bob Kelly out at the goal line in front, and it deflects off Gorance's skate and right past McIlhargey up ice to the Flyer line. Ben Wilson turning there, hits McLeish, but through him and into the New York zone tomorrow along the near side. The Islander defenseman gets at the center, and then McIlhargey takes a run at Howard as the Islanders come through at the Flyer line. Broken up there, down goes Gorance, and over the line comes Howard offside. He runs into Ben Wilson, and there's a challenge there. And they all gather in along the Islanders player bench far side.
McIlhargey and Gordy Lane are going at it. McIlhargey is really letting some right hands on Gordy Lane. He hasn't been able to throw a punch, but Lane came in to make sure that Ben Wilson and Gary would have no upper hand over Gary Howard, but then McIlhargey and Lane went at it. Dropped their gloves, and McIlhargey threw nothing but right hands on Gordy Lane, and Lane had just pushed up McIlhargey against the boards. It's a similar fight that Nystrom had with Busnick. Busnick wasn't able to throw a punch. This time it was Lane of the Islanders who could not throw a punch, and McIlhargey really hit him with about 5 or 6 before Lane could even try and get loose or tie up McIlhargey. McIlhargey still trying to throw punches over John D'Amico. He better calm himself down a bit, as the Flyers now are low in defensemen, but Lane coming in to grab a hold of the players so that as a peacemaker. But McIlhargey dropped the gloves along with Lane and just drilled him with about 6 or 7 right hands before Lane could even get any in. And now Kenny Morrow and Ben Wilson are having a little bit of words. John D'Amico has Jack McIlhargey over there. Now Ben Wilson and Howitt and Gurney Morrow, Gorance and Kelly are mingling still in front of the players' bench. Nystrom moved from the right side of his players' bench all the way down to where the confrontation is occurring. McIlhargey and Lane will both sent to the dressing room, seeing there's only 3:17 left in this second period. They will pick up 5-minute majors each for fighting at the least. And now they're still mingling over in front of the Islander bench.
Ben Wilson is doing the Muhammad Ali on Ken Morrow, just staring at him. Still staring at him. Now talking a bit, but I'm sure it's not poetry. Now,
well, Howard and Wilson went a little bit in Philadelphia, but Wilson ended up with all the penalties.
And now Howard was over there, and Tommy Gorence is being shoved all the way down the ice to the Flyer blue line and to their bench by John D'Amico. And now Howard's going to be directed, so maybe those two are also going to pick up some time. While we try to iron out all of the penalties, we'll remind you 3:17 remain in the second period. The Islanders 5 and the Flyers nothing.
Let's pause now for station identification on the Flyers Hockey Network.
WTAF-TV, Channel 29, Philadelphia. Taft Broadcasting, serving the Delaware Valley.
Well, Tommy Gorence and Gary Howard have been exited to the dressing rooms by the linesmen. I wonder what they'll pick up. Possibly misconducts, Gene. They didn't throw any punches. They had grabbed a hold of each other, and there was a lot of talk going on over in front of the bench. But it will be McElhargy and Lane for majors at the least. Time of these penalties are occurring at 16:43.
Well, let's see. That'll give the Flyers a minimum of 9 and the Islanders a minimum of 10, so we'll have 19 penalties. And we played just 37 minutes into the game. Islanders 2:38. Henning of shorthanded goal while Sutter was off. And then from the 7 to the 14-minute mark, Potvin, Trottier, and Bossy power plays. Trottier, while the Flyers were 2 men short. And Gillies in this period. As the Flyers were killing off another penalty, they are 4 for 4 and 9 for 17 on the playoffs. Well, Howard and Gorence go up on the boards for minors.
That I don't understand. Why, with just 2 minutes
delay?
Yeah, but there's 3:17 left in the period. Why send them to the dressing room? They must have picked up an additional misconduct or something for them to go to the dressing room.
Philadelphia penalty to number 29, Jack McElhargy, 5 minutes for fighting, plus a 10-minute misconduct penalty. Number 22, Tom Gorence, 2 minutes for roughing, 10 minutes misconduct. For the Islanders, number 24, Gord Lane, 5 minutes
10 minutes.
Fighting, 10-minute misconduct.
What the penalties are now, McElhargy and Gordy Lane each will pick up 5-minute majors for fighting plus 10-minute misconduct. Tommy Gorence of the Flyers and Gary Howard of the Islanders will pick up 2 minutes for roughing and a 10-minute misconduct each.
2 for roughing plus 10-minute misconduct.
So that is the reason why Howard and Gorence are going to the dressing room. They've picked up misconducts. So they'll be able to return in the latter stages of the third period. Let's review that again. McElhargy and Gordy Lane each pick up 5 fighting, 10-minute misconducts. Tommy Gorence of the Flyers and Gary Howard of the Islanders, 2 minutes each for roughing, plus each will pick up 10-minute misconducts. Time of these penalties, 16:43.
Well, Lane now takes over the playoff leadership in penalty minutes. He has 81. And for Gary Howard, all told, with the 12 minutes that he picks up, he now has 77. The Islanders, who came into this game with 419 penalty minutes, going to certainly pick up to that. There are 20 penalties in the game, 22 penalties now, and each team has 11 of them.
The Philadelphia penalty on Gorence will be served by number 20.
Brian Propp will serve the 2-minute minor to Tom Gorence, and Dwayne Sutter will serve the 2-minute minor to Gary Howard.
Of course, while all that was occurring, Nystrom and Busnick had finished their majors and were out of the penalty box. So the Flyers are already lost Watson and Holmgren for the night. Now I've also lost McElhargy and Gorence for almost halfway through the third period.
We're down 5-0 as an outlet pass to Clark on the left wing at the New York line. Tries to go through, does to Leach on the offside. Went to the back forehand, lost the shot. Barber at the point. Right side to Daly as they're playing 5-a-side. It is to Leach. Shot toward the net. Knocked down by Potvin. Couldn't find the handle. Clark knocks it out on the far boards, and New York gets it up to Bourne. One-on-one with Barber. Barber playing the defense. Bourne got inside. He's right on in. Shot. Save. Beautiful one by Mir, and we're going to have a penalty. And it's going to be a hook. And looks like the Flyers are again going to be down a man. As Billy Barber, playing defense with Daly, Leach, and Clark, was beaten on an inside move by Bourne, and after Mir the save, it appeared Barber was called for hooking.
And Bourne had a few words to say with Billy Barber as Barber ended up on the ice after the play. But Bourne made a good move inside Barber to get the shot away on Phil Mir, who made a fine save. And that's what the call will be. Barber will be going off, and the Flyers again will be short-handed. Bobby Bourne with that good speed. Speed is such a factor. You have to really respect it. This time he got the shot away after he took the shot. Barber took him down, or hooked him after the play was over. And they ended up in the corner. And it's high sticking rather than hooking. So he had to high stick him after the shot was made on Phil Mir. 17-18, the time of Barber's penalty, and the Islanders will be on the power play. They're 4 for 4 coming into this one.
Well, we've had 23 penalties now for 76 minutes in the game. And the Islanders 9 for 17 on the playoff against the Flyers, get their 18th shorthanded stint in 2 games plus 2 periods. Just devastating to Philadelphia. Puck in the corner, taken off by Bossy, straight away to Pearson, to Potvin, a shot, score!
Well, Dennis Potvin picks up his 2nd goal of the game, his 5th of the series, and again on the power play. Potvin's wicked wrist shot beat Mir high on the glove side as the puck faceoff was won by Clark into the corner, and they couldn't control it. Then quickly it was fed out to Pearson, who fed it over to Potvin, who used Daly as a screen. And his high shot eluded Phil Mir. It's now 6-0 Islanders as they get their 5th straight power play goal.
10 for 18. Incredible.
17:25 is the time of the goal. Stefan Persson will pick up 1 assist, and I believe it'll be Brian Trottier the other.
The playoff for number 5, Dennis Potvin.
Well, Potvin has had a night. 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points.
And number 22, Mike Bossy.
Bossy and Pearson the assist as they're playing 5-a-side. Minute 5 left on the penalties to Tommy Gorence. The minors to Gorence and to Cowett. And here come the Islanders again, leading 6-0 up through. Gillies back to Goring. And the Flyers break it up, and Daly gets it to McLeish. Up through as McLeish is taken down the hill. One-on-one with Lorimer. Shot. Catches Lorimer's stick and goes way up into the end seats.
Well, that power play is really working like a fine precision watch for the Islanders. Potvin really unloaded that wrist shot and gave Mir little chance. Daly was out trying to block it, but it just snuck by Daly, and of course the high corner where it finally ended up. Dennis Potvin, his 5th power play, his 5th goal, and his 2nd power play goal of the game.
The record for power play goals in a playoff game by one team, 6 by the Boston Bruins on April 2nd, 1969 against the Toronto Maple Leafs in a game won by the Bruins at Boston Garden 10-0, and the Islanders have 5 plus a shorthanded goal. Philadelphia now again playing 4 skaters aside, have Hill out there with Bridgman, and Daly back with Dupont, and here comes Goring up ice on with Lorimer, Langevin, and Gillies. Goring over the line, holds at the left point, now plays into the near corner. Lorimer will take the carom, throws it toward the net, and it ricochets back to the point on the missed pass back into the center ice area. Langevin back at his own line for the Islanders, who lead 6-0. Now up ice, here comes Butch Goring. Over the line on the right side into the Philadelphia zone. Poke check back into center ice by the Flyers' Dupont. Lorimer waits for his line to clear. Goring gets a stick up, says I'm a little winded, as all the Islanders might be. As the play is cleared to the blue line and out, taken back in by Dennis Potvin, who realized the error as soon as he made it, but couldn't stop his momentum. 1:20 remaining 2nd period. 6-0 Islanders with 3 seconds remaining on the minors to Tommy Gorence being served by Brian Propp, and to Gary Howitt being served by Dwayne Sutter, as both Gorence and Howitt received additional misconduct penalties.
Well, the Flyers blew away the Islanders on Thursday night at Philadelphia 8-3. The Islanders now in a very commanding 6-0 lead here. For Game 4 will probably be a very close checking, low-scoring type.
Ben Wilson behind his net, cut off by Merrick, but it is Busnick looking through for Kelly at center ice, can't handle it, and Potvin waits for his man to come out, Merrick, then goes cross ice for Morrow. He flips it into the Flyer zone to the right of Mir. Busnick there, we get the final minute of play, and here comes Philadelphia. Ben Wilson with Propp on his right, Lintzman on his left, 3-on-3 at the Islander line. The Lintzman drops to Kelly, going right on in the Lintzman. The Propp shot blocked off, and the Islanders turn back the other way. Beautiful steal, and we're going to have a penalty, and it's going to be, I believe, against the Islanders. Nystrom for taking down Propp. Now they pull out Mir toward the net. Shot by Propp, he's taken down, and now the call is going to be made, and I think it's Nystrom. And in there is Lintzman, and in there is Ben Wilson, and along with Busnick.
And Kelly, Nystrom really went after Brian Propp a couple of times. He knocked him down, went after him, and cross-checked him down up around the blue line. That's when Bob Myers called the minor. And now Ben Wilson is going after Nystrom. And they're yelling at him. The referees are telling him to get in the box. But Brian Propp was knocked down twice. And now Nystrom and Wilson. Wilson wants a piece of him. Nystrom wants a piece of Wilson. But you can hear the referee Myers yelling at him, get in the box. Probably get in the box, meaning Nystrom. And now Kelly says something to Billy Smith. Smith threatening with the goal stick. And Nystrom's being ushered over to the penalty box. Just 37 seconds remaining in this second period. I think the initial call will be cross-checking, but he came back in front of the net too and knocked him down again. I'm not sure he will pick up 4 minutes. That's what's going up on the board. So he's got call on both plays that he knocked Brian Propp down. Once up around the blue line and once down around the goal, but Kenny Lintzman will pick up 4 minutes. Brian Propp tried to take the shot away, and that's when Nystrom came in and took it, Propp, and then he came back and cross-checked Propp down twice, trying to get him to do something. Then after that play, Propp came back in front of the net,
14,
and he was hit down at the side of the net by Nystrom, pulled down.
Nystrom, 2 minutes for roughing, 2 minutes high sticking. Time of the penalties, 19:23.
But Nystrom will get 2 for roughing, 2 for high sticking.
19:23.
And Lintzman only picked up 2 minutes. It was a mistake on the board. They had 4 up there to begin with, but Lintzman only picks up 2 for roughing.
At 19 penalties here in the second period, 10 to the Island and 9 to the Flyers. The penalties are now 13 apiece, and we still have 20 minutes remaining. That minor by Lintzman will wipe out the power play for the time being until the first half of Nystrom's double minor and Lintzman's penalty are served. That'll come in the second period. And then, or into the third period, then the Flyers will get a power play advantage. They are 0 for 5, and the Islanders are 5 for 5. And you could simply boil it down to that, but there's been much more. 6-0 New York. The Flyers are being grilled right now. And maybe they're going to have to use the tack that the Islanders did after Game 2. Say, well, if you're going to lose, you might as well lose big. Now Kelly at the side of the net, and Vince Smith makes a good save. And then a bump in on Trottier, who's back with Goring. By Busnick sends Bob Kelly in, looking for Bridgman. Bad pass to the far side, and it's slapped by Trottier up ice. Daly at the defense with Busnick, and Kelly up front with Bridgman as they're playing 4 skaters aside. Bridgman over the line, left circle pass into the corner for Daly, chips it towards Smith, knocks it clear to the near side. Busnick gets it in the offensive left wing corner, chased by Henning. Henning got the whole thing started in the first 3 minutes of the first period with a shorthanded goal, ties up Busnick behind the net as we come to the end of the second period, and the Islanders are up their lead by 2 power play goals to 6-0. Now coming up during intermission, Ed Van Impe will be in discussion with the little pepper pot Butch Goring of the Islanders. And then our simulcast networks are going to split. On the TV side, you're going to see great moments in overtime play. While on the radio side, I'll be in conversation with Paul Evans, the Crow from the Maine Mariners. And finally, the Chief and Ed will have highlights of that second period. There it is, the end of 2 periods. It's the Islanders 6 and the Flyers no score.
Philadelphia 8, the Islanders.
At the end of the second.
Welcome back to the Veterans Coliseum in Nassau County, Uniondale. Islanders picked up 2 power play goals in the second. Gillies from Pearson at 15:41, and Potvin is second of the night at 17:25 from Pearson and Bossi. Flyers were outshot 21-8 and trail in that department 39-17, as we'll be back for Game 4 Monday night here from the Coliseum at 8 o'clock on the radio and television simulcast networks. All right, Flyers, who have lost Holmgren and Watson for the evening on injuries, have Gorence in the penalty box along with McIllargy serving misconducts and Lintzman finishing off his minor, and the Islanders have Howard and Lane in there on misconducts, and they have Nystrom in on a double minor. So within a minute and 13 seconds, Flyers get a power play. Leach in, shot off the right shoulder of Billy Smith back to Barber at the point. Fires it behind the New York net into the offensive right wing corner to Clark. Clark looking for a breaker right in front. Tries to go to Leach, shot off the side of the net by Daly as Billy Smith went down. Now to Barber on the near side. Flyers are not on the power play, but they're acting as if they are. And finally, Barber tied up halfway down his right wing side by Wayne Merrick. If we haven't mentioned it earlier, like several of the players now increasingly in the league, using a plexiglass curved screen across the front of his face. Flyers had Barber, Leach, Clark, and Daly out, and now Kelly comes on with Bridgman. 52 seconds remaining on the minor to Kenny Lintzman, and then when he's out, the Flyers will have the second half of that double minor to Nystrom to get something on the board. The Islanders continue with Merrick. Will take the draw, and it goes past Barber to center ice. Bourne will put pressure on him, and then goes right to his bench to be replaced by Tonelli. Daly through to Bridgman from Kelly along the right wing side into the corner to Kelly. Kelly looking for a man in front right off the side of the net, and it bounces to Tonelli. Will come with Merrick 2-on-2. Now Tonelli pressuring Bob Daly at the line. Gets right past Daly, right out in front on a stuffer shot, and Meir came out to the inner portion of his left wing circle for Philadelphia to smother the shot. Now Bill Barber at center ice fires it into the near part of the Islanders zone. Bridgman trying to make a play, but it's swept off the stick into the seats near side by Dave Langevin. 19 seconds remaining on the Lintzman penalty. Flyers skating a defenseman short and another man short, Paul Holmgren, aggravated injuries.
Stefan Persson really instrumental on that power play, who sets up a lot of goals. He picked up 2 assists in the second period on the power play. Almost had a goal with it, Ben Wilson as well, as he tried to hold him off after Nystrom and Mike Busnick were going at it. 21-8 the shots in that second period. Gene, it's an amazing number. 33-17 after 2.
33-17. All right, it'll be Bourne out there with Potvin and Lorimer and Henning. Back to the point. McLeish right on in. Shot. Smith the save, and Clark was just pulled down at the side of the net by Potvin as the Islanders shoot it all the way down. And play is allowed to continue as Lintzman will be out at 8 seconds, and the Flyers then will have their 5th power play, 6th of the game. Now it is McLeish turning at center, left winging it off the skate of Ben Wilson. It doesn't come into the zone. Ben did, but kept it out, and now takes it into Clark. Rink wide pass. McLeish will take at the left circle. Tries a shot that's blocked behind the net to Leach. Now the power play is on in the second half of the double minor to Bobby Nystrom. Flyers 0 for 5 on the power play, and on the playoffs they are 4 for 14 against New York. Stoppage of play, offensive left circle face-off for Philadelphia.
Well, Bobby Clark, who we mentioned earlier in the game, that he and Brian Trottier are the best face-off men. Clark going at a 60% clip, Brian Trottier at a 60.9%. So they're very close in those draws, and they are very important. They're out there now. Face-off inside the Islanders zone. Brian Trottier will be taking most of them.
All right, Clark and Hill with Leach, McLeish at the point with Wilson on the near side. They try to go in, and it goes to Clark. Quick shot off right shoulder of Billy Smith. Goes back on the rebound to McLeish at the left point with 1:31 on the Nystrom penalty. Into the circle. Hill in front trying to find Clark, but they control as it's Ben Wilson going back to McLeish. Left circle. Right circle past the Leach. He can't wind up to shoot. Pressure put on by Goring, and the Flyers Ben Wilson into the near corner, and Potvin scales it down the ice. There comes out, stops the puck, and lays off to McLeish. As Henning is out there now along with Bourne, Lorimer, and Potvin with 1:07 left on the Flyer advantage.
Here comes Lintzman up ice inside Bourne. Left wing pass to Bridgman into the zone, but the puck catches the skates of John D'Amico, the linesman, jumping up on the boards to avoid contact. Now it is in front to Daly from Propp, and Billy Smith knocks it behind. Daly fights for it. He's outgunned in there by Lauren Henning, who makes a weak clearing pass. The Flyers' Lintzman keeps it in. The big scramble at the blue line, and McLeish to the near side goes to the left wing circle, right wing circle boards. Holds 38 seconds on the advantage. In at the circle, in front. Shot blocked by Potvin to the far side to Daly. Daly goes behind the net. Bridgman can't control. Potvin will fight for it out of his right wing corner to the blue line. Not out, and taken out by Lorimer. One-on-one against Propp. Over the line. Dart bang to left. He's going to try to cut in front, but as he did, the puck went behind the net with 19 seconds on the Flyer advantage. Here comes Lintzman through at center ice. At the Islander line with Propp. Fakes the shot down along the left wing boards, trying to find some help. Blocked off by Morrow, and it is Propp getting it back to Barber. Shot! Oh, and it was tipped over the top of the net by Bridgman in front to Daly. He's in. Shot trying to get through a screen to Lintzman. Chip shot hit the side of the net, and we get a stoppage of play as the penalty expires. The double minor to Nystrom, and the penalty box is empty of minor violators with 16:36 remaining in the third period, and it's the Islanders 6 and the Flyers nothing.
Al Nystrom coming out of the penalty box. We still have Gorence and McIlhargey for the Flyers. Gary Howdett and Gordy Lane for the Islanders in the penalty box, serving their 10-minute misconducts, as Ray Scapanello is picking off some debris that was thrown on the ice right out in front of Phil Muir. But as Ed Van Impe said, Gene, the Flyers right now, it's a long road to hoe coming back after down 6 goals, but they have to get back into good habits and try to reestablish their game that was so successful on Thursday evening.
All right, Clark out along with Leach and Kelly, and DuPont with Busnick, and the Islanders get the draw of their own zone and shoot at the center. On there is Merrick along with Trottier playing a wing and Nystrom, and Morrow defensively with Langevin, and Trottier at center ice works past Clark, flips to the Flyer line, but it hits a player on the Flyer bench. Ben Wilson, who was leaning on the dasher, so we'll come to center ice for the draw.
Well, Ben Wilson and Clark Gillies really had a lot of things to say to each other in the second period. It'd be interesting if they come together here in the third. Ryan Trottier, who has really been the key for the Islanders throughout the season and is in this playoffs, as he's the leading scorer for everybody in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
He's got 24, 10 goals, 14 assists, and we mentioned that's 3 behind the playoff record for an individual in a year. 27 shared by Frank Mahovlich and Phil Esposito. Face-off at the Flyer blue line as there's a tie-up, and now Langevin is pushed by Busnick, and that's quickly a separation.
Well, John D'Amico and Ray Scapanello have really had their work cut out for them in this game. They've had to come in very quickly on quite a number of whistles after the play was gone, as all the players have been congregating right from the start of the game.
19 penalties in the second period, 26 all told. In case you're wondering what the record is for a game, Eddie and Bob, it's 92 penalties, so they've got a long way to go. The Islanders ice, as Morrow didn't mean to do that, tapped the stick on the ice and discussed as Busnick back behind his own net for Philadelphia.
Mike Busnick, a veteran defenseman, first year in the National Hockey League, as mentioned, at 28 years old, and as he was saying, going for his 5th straight championship. But he's a very steady member of the Flyer blue line brigade, and every time there's any kind of a confrontation, Busnick's the first man there. He plays a lot like Barry Ashby and Teddy Harris. Great team players.
All right, we'll have the face-off offensive left wing side for Philadelphia. Back to Wilson, a drive. That catches Bourne and deflects to Tonelli at the Flyer line, and he comes up ice with Nystrom. As Bourne goes off, is Tonelli through into the zone. Nystrom trying to drop a pass in on Mirror, and Mirror was down crouching, looking through legs, was able to get that glove off to his left as the loose puck rolled in on him. 15:49 remaining in the third period. Islanders up 6-0.
Well, Bobby Nystrom out there, he has been a very strong performer. He has a lot of muscle coming in off that wing, and that good size of his keeps the goaltenders and defensemen very occupied in front of that net.
All right, it'll be McLeish against Merrick. Back to Potvin, looking for the hat trick, and Mir made the save on just a whistling shot off his right shoulder and stick. And the outlet pass to Barber at center ice from Hill over the line. He's got McLeish in on the off wing. Backhand shot well wide of the angle, and Nystrom will take it for the Islanders along his own right wing board.
and onto the stick of Merrick at center ice. Pass Hill. Merrick in the zone. Tonelli in. Shot. Saved by Mir, and he falls on the rebound to his right with 15:25 remaining in the third period. Islanders 6 and Flyers no score.
Behind the Islander bench, a little more at ease tonight than he was Thursday evening in Philadelphia. They won the Coach of the Year in 1979 last season, and this season it was Pat Quinn, who's now on the bench with the Flyers.
He'll receive that award at the Stanley Cup luncheon to be held tomorrow here at Roosevelt Raceway, which is right nearby. Here comes Ben Wilson up at center ice, left winging through to Hill. Shot from deep out on the left is deflected up into the end seats by Stefan Pearson. I might point out that the raceway only goes at night, and they're using their dining terrace for the luncheon.
6-0, and the Flyers really have to get their -2 players via the injury route. Jimmy Watson will not see any more action tonight. He re-injured his shoulder. Paul Holmgren will not see any action as he re-injured his knee. And their status for Game 4 or the rest of the series is still up in the air.
I'd prop out with Bridgman on the right and Lintzman, and defensively DuPont with Bosnick, and the Islanders Pearson around behind the net. On with Langevin, and up front they have Goring with Sutter and Gillies. At the Flyer line, they go into the zone. Sutter is cut off by Prop. Allows Bosnick to get up to Bridgman at center ice, coming with Hill on the far wing. Offensive right, Karam looking for Hill, and he shot right through the open goal mouth on a deflection. Now Lintzman's centering pass is blocked, and we get a stoppage as the net is dislodged to the back line of Billy Smith. Sat on the top of the mooring post and was knocked back on quickly by Pearson.
Well, Bridgman, who's done super jobs of checking throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs against the other team's top center, did a good job against Trottier in the second game, not allowing him to get on the scoreboard. And now, with Al Arbor having the second change out here, he's trying to keep Brian Trottier away. But the moorings, or the net was lifted off its moorings by goaltender Billy Smith on that play.
Out the side of it, Lintzman in front, and it skips past Bridgman, and the Islanders Bourne clears it away to center ice. Philadelphia's DuPont with defenseman Bosnick up on the near side onto the stick of Lintzman into the Islander zone. Tries the shot. Goring rips it off the stick and tips it into center ice. Bosnick shoots it back in, but Goring has it out clear for New York. Works past the check of Lintzman, and that brought a little huzza here as he did a little razzle-dazzle circle. Dwayne Sutter with the puck around behind the Philadelphia net, dumps the pass, but the Flyers Mel Bridgman retreating away from the forechecking of Goring, gets it to Prop, and Prop slides it down the left wing, and it rolls into the New York zone. With it is Langevin. Clears it down the ice along the near side. Daly will cut it off before it hits the goal line as he's out with Wilson. And it is Kelly on with Bridgman, and now Billy Clark on the far side. The Islanders go with Henning, Trottier, and Sutter. As with the game's competitive nature seemingly off-kilter, both teams are going into unusual line combinations. Puck into the right of Phil Meer. Played off to Ben Wilson by Daly. Intercepted in front of the Philadelphia net by Bossy, who lost his stick and then got it back just in time to see the puck slide past him into the far corner. Bossy steals from Daly. Centering pass off the stick of Ben Wilson. The puck man, white shot, save, and Meer got the rebound. That popped off his pads in front of him with his left glove for the stoppage of play.
Phil Mear's been a very busy goaltender in tonight's hockey game, especially in that second period. He's had a couple of big saves here in the third. And again, the Flyers coming together after the whistle, and frustration really sets in. You don't like to get beaten, especially not by a big margin. And when that happens, you try to vent some steam any way you can. But Meer getting that shot in the breadbasket and then driving out with the glove to hold on for the faceoff.
One of the Islanders' 5 power play goals tonight, along with a shorthanded score. Will be on the wing, centered by Henning with Bossy, and Potvin back with Lorimer. And the Flyers go Leach, Kelly, and Clark with Ben Wilson and Bob Daly. We still have McIllargy and Gorence for the Flyers, Howard and Lane for the Islanders serving misconducts. Lane and McIllargy picked up 5 and 10, and Gorence and Howard picked up 2 and 10. So they'll be back a little quicker than the 2 other big guys. Again, the Islanders zone behind the net. Lorimer tries to clear it and does, but Clark picks it out of the right wing corner in front to Leach. And he shot wide of Smith's right on the quick play by Clark, and Smith out of position a bit, but Leach's shot just went wide. Now Daly out of his own right wing side gets it through to center ice onto the stick of Leach. Flips it into the right of Smith. In there on the rebound. Offensive left wing corner is Kelly. Can't get it past Lorimer, and the Islanders. Bossy winds it around to his own left wing side for Potvin, and then the outlet pass is center, stolen by Ben Wilson. Into the zone, tries to cut into the middle of Clark, shot, and Billy Smith the rebound. Hand pass right back to Daly. Screen shot as he went down in front, did Clark Gillies, and Daly wisely tried to shoot through him. Now the puck on the deflection into the near corner to Kelly. Kelly is bumped and taken off behind the net nicely by Potvin, and they wind it up to Bossy. Bossy an outlet through to Henning at center ice. Crisscrosses with Gilly for the Islanders at the Flyer line left wing. Into the zone, tries to go back to Bossy. Bossy down along the right side, finds a trailer. Now takes it back to the blue line. Is tripped up, has the pass. Kickoff escape the center, and Daly sends it up ice through Langevin into the Islander zone. But cutting across is Langevin's partner, Marr, to tip it back to center ice. 12-9 remaining in the third period. 6-0 Islanders. Billy Barber over the New York line. Tries to cut in on Merrick. Tries to dump it in on the net. But Merrick and Langevin are equal to take it away. Prevent the scoring drive. Now Al Hill behind the New York net. Gets it to Barber. Looks for help. To the point. Busnick winds up. Shot. Never reaches the net, and the Islanders get it up on the left side to Tonelli. Tonelli over the line into the Philadelphia zone, and then is cut off by Busnick, who trails behind his net. And there's a trip up as Tonelli went over DuPont's stick, but that was not a premeditated play, and they try for penalty here. But Bob Myers lets play continue as Billy Barber out there now with McLeish and Hill. McLeish now circling past Bossy up into Tonelli into center ice at the Islander line. Over the line, can't get through either Marr or Nystrom, who takes the puck for New York behind his own net, and up on the far side to Merrick. Outlet pass. Here comes Nystrom with Tonelli 2-on-2 against Bridgman and Busnick. Tonelli in, left circle. Tries to find Nystrom, who was cut off perfectly by Bridgman and never had a chance at the clearing pass. Back comes Al Hill for the Flyers on the left wing at center ice. Fires in on Billy Smith, who directs to the near side. Tries to fight the puck out and does get it to center past Nystrom, and it slides to the Flyer line where Daly gets it up ice. And if Bridgman touches, he'll be offside as that play came out of the Flyer zone across the center ice red line. 10:57 remaining in the scoreless third period with the Islanders leading 6-0.
Well, a lot of teams have their crazy guys that come to the rink, and the Islanders have the man who dresses in an Islander shirt and an old man mask. He goes around the different areas of the crowd trying to get the player or the fans up and cheering.
Daly out with Ben Wilson, and there is Goring, who got hit with that clearing pass and is doing a hop, skip, and jump in his own zone, but still recovers as Daly gets it up ice trying to find Flop. It goes over the Islander goal line where Lorimer gets it up ice through off the stick of Wayne Sutter. Behind the Philadelphia net it goes to Daly, chased by Gillies, and it's tapped by Lintzman to Bridgman. Bridgman at his own line with 10:25 left in the third period. 6-0 Island. Bridgman over the line, but offside on the left wing is Kenny Lintzman. Game 4 of the series will be coming up here Monday night at 8 o'clock with our same television and radio network pairing.
Well, the Flyers really are throwing out all kinds of different combinations, and they have to, as they've been down by two men we mentioned before. Holmgren and Watson through for the game. He's been using the centerman on the left wing a lot, and Barber has played a shift at the fence a couple of times as well.
DuPont and Busnick, and it's Kelly with Leach and Clark. And the Islanders go with Howard, as now Howard has come on in front to Clark. A shot, he scores! Bobby Clark, and it's 6-1.
Well, Clark's having an excellent playoff. Not only has he been so superb defensively, but he has been scoring goals for Philadelphia, and a good play by Leach just knocking it through. Clark very wisely knocked it down with a hand and just chipped it through Billy Smith. As it bounced between his arm and his leg, and the Flyers get their first goal.
All right, for Clark, it'll be his 7th. We'll wait for the assist at 9:48. Now up to the far side, Kelly through to Leach at center ice, putting pressure on Langevin. But Langevin, good poke check to strip Leach of the puck in the Islander zone and shoot it back the other way. Now here they come again. Clark looking for Kelly. Lead pass on the right side, trying to find Kelly in the zone, but Langevin poke checks it back into the seats along the near side. Bob, I could probably... Let's pick it up.
For number 16, Bobby Clark.
Clark gets the 7th goal of his playoff. Reggie Leach will pick up 1 assist, and Mike Busnick the other assist. As you mentioned, G, 9:48, the time of the tally.
Well, for those of you who are worried about if the Flyers had been shut out, they've only been shut out 7 times in their playoff history, Bobby.
and only 3 times on the road. Last year, remember, 6-0, the Rangers at the Garden. They were shut out in '73 by Cesar Maniago in Minnesota, 5-0. And the third one was at Boston Garden in the quarterfinals of 1977, or the semifinals, 3-0.
Billy Smith, after that goal by Clark, got a good cheer from the hometown fans here, and they started yelling, "Billy, Billy, Billy," as they very glad with the job he's done for the Islanders tonight. But Smith would, as every goaltender would, dearly love to get those shutouts in the playoffs. Smith hasn't been as active around the net as we have expected him to.
Bobby, that goal by Clark gives him 31 and 102 points, moves him in undisputed possession of 14th place overall in Stanley Cup career scoring. He's now 1 point behind John Busick, 2 points behind Alec Del Vecchio. So he continues to climb higher and higher into illustrious company. The Islanders' Potvin gets right past Gorence, but falls. The Flyers back Gorence and Hill over the line. Gorence has a stick lifted and shot through the screen of Lorimer, right off the right shoulder of Billy Smith and out of the rink. 9:18 remaining in the third period. It's the Islanders 6 and the Flyers 1.
2 keys coming out of this game tonight, I would think, Gene. Number 1, of course, is the status of Jimmy Watson and Paul Holmgren for Game 4 on Monday, and also how well the Flyers will be able to rebound. The Islanders rebounded very well after their trouncing on Thursday. None of the Flyers will be coming out again on Monday smoking.
Lane and McIlhargey still on the penalty boxes with their 15 minutes in time. They have about a minute left as Merrick over the line against Gorence. Drops past to Nystrom. And he was the great trailer, and the shot blocked off by Mir and away on left wing at center ice to Hill. He overskates the puck, takes a bump from Nystrom, and there are 2 officials over there, the referee and the linesman clogging play. And finally it's broken loose to Nystrom and back to the Islander line for Dennis Potvin. Rink-wide pass at center. Nystrom breaks with his skates through to Tonelli on the left wing past Daly. Bad angle, looks to center, and as he looks, Bob Daly goes the length of his body on the ice to knock the play down. And Daly went heavily into the boards, and it looked like he banged his shoulder a bit.
Well, he's getting up very slowly, but he made a good diving effort to knock that puck away from Tonelli, who got a step on him at the blue line. McIlhargey still out, serving that 10-minute misconduct, as is Gordy Lane from the Islanders, so the Flyers are very short on defensemen with Watson away for the game.
24 seconds remaining on those major penalty calls to Lane of the Islanders and McIlhargey. And they'll have to wait till the first stoppage of play after 24 seconds. Gillies out with Goring and Sutter, Langerman on with Morrow. And the Flyers have Lintzman on, along with Propp and Bridgman as they come 2-on-2 at the Islander line. Bridgman loses control, but fights for it along the left wing side in front to Propp. He took a shot blocked. They get it back to the point. Bustic lines up, shot, score! And we had a raised hand. A penalty was going to be called, Bobby, on Langevin for taking out Bridgman, but that goes by the board.
Well, Bridgman had the pass. He got in there, and Langevin took it away, and then Ken Morrow took Mel Bridgman out at the side of the net, and Langevin took out Propp, but Mike Busnick's low shot from the point beat Smith to the stick side. The Flyers have gotten their second goal of the game. Mike Busnick.
Well, Mike cracks the ice on his first Stanley Cup playoff goal as it's 6-2. Philadelphia in the New York zone, getting that goal, and now coming out of their own end up at the center ice area along the right wing. Lintzman overskates, chased back, and then spins up ice away from Gillies again to the Islander line, rolls it in weakly, and it's out on the right side looking for Sutter from Morrow. Tapped off the stick into the Philadelphia zone. And then we got a play as Sutter was taken down in the Philadelphia zone by Dupont. Up ice now, Propp avoids the check of Morrow.
That's Wozniak's first of the playoffs from Bridgman at 11:30.
Bridgman gets the assist for Philadelphia on the goal at 11:32. So the Flyers, who weren't able to find the answer to Billy Smith through the first 50 minutes of the game, now have scored 2 goals in 1 minute and 44 seconds. 6-2. Up on the right side at center ice. It's cleared back to Ben Wilson looking for Daly. That stopped at the Islander line by Langevin. Now through on the near side. Propp is beaten by Bourne. Now it's played into that far corner to Clark. In front, Leach's shot as he went falling prone on the left circle, and Billy Smith came up good with that one. The Flyers keep it in. Ben Wilson just didn't have that extra step, though, as he looked a bit winded. And Bob Bourne on the right side at center to Mike Bossy. Through on the near side into Trottier with Bourne. Drop pass, Trottier going to the net to Bourne, and a backhander from Mears right in tight was well wide of the net. Now Trottier, offensive right wing corner, is bumped in there by Wilson. Tries to get it on the front. Bourne is shot. That was blocked, and it comes in on Mir again. Poked it away from Trottier as it's a big scramble around the Philadelphia
Philadelphia net, and then Bussey from the left circle tried the turnaround shot. Finally, Philadelphia Leach gets it, tries to lift it out. Potvin keeps it in at the point, tries to roll it in the board. There's a drive, and Mir the save, rebound. A shot over the top of the net by Bussey, and right out of the rink, and nobody topped that one. And the faceoff will come to center ice. 6:41 remaining in the third period. The Islanders 6 and the Flyers 2.
This time Mike Busnick got that shot through everybody. It appeared Smith might have had a good look at it, but he just missed it. But a nice low shot to the stick side, and that's the hardest part for a goaltender. It appeared that it dipped a little bit on him before it came in.
Lawrence on the breakaway. He's going in. Shoots over the top of the net as he had Smith down. He was in clear and had the right place, had the goaler down and shot high. So the Flyers certainly shown a lot of ginger here when they could have very well just acquiesced through the last period.
Well, you don't expect any team when they get to the Stanley Cup Finals to throw in the towel, and Gorance rather came right in, and he did have Billy Smith beaten, but that quick shot rolled a little bit on him, and he got it up over the net and on high in the glass.
Right, McLeish on with Hill and Gorance, and the DuPont with Busnick. And it's Henning on now, along with Howard and Nystrom. Defensively, Morrow has the puck along his right wing boards, trying to get out and can't. And it's tapped into the offensive left wing corner by the Flyers' DuPont. Morrow goes back to the weak side, and Nystrom tries to come out. He fails, and a tip shot in on Billy Smith. Off the skate, and we get a stoppage of play.
Quick whistle by Bob Myers. I think he anticipated Billy Smith holding on to that puck as he had Al Hill right in front of him, but Smith grabbed it quickly and tossed it over to his defenseman, Ken Morrow. But it was too late. The whistle had gone.
6:11 remaining third period. The Islanders 6 and the Flyers 2. Back here for Game 4 on Monday night. Radio and television networks at 8. DuPont with Busnick, and up front they have Hill and Gorance, the wings for Mick McLeish. And it is Henning on along with Bourne and Nystrom, along with Gordy Lane and Ken Morrow for the Islanders. Flyers offensive left circle faceoff. McLeish and Bourne. Puck is dropped right out the circle, and Bourne finally gets a second poke back into his own corner to Lane. Lane goes back nicely, and here comes Bourne right up the middle with Nystrom on his right, Henning on his left. Throw at the Flyer line, tries to go into the zone, does, takes it off the left wing boards. Tries to go back to Lane at the point. Ties it up, kicked away from him by McLeish and by Busnick. McLeish around behind his net off the side of the net as he tried to clear the pass. That's Henning trying to get it to Nystrom. Blocked off, tries to come out in front again. He does. Shot off the near side of the Philadelphia net. And McLeish then just lifts it down the ice, and it trickles to the Islander line. Now Philadelphia make changes, and Ben Wilson is out there along with Barber at the blue line. It appears Barber playing a defensive position. Finally, Prop comes over with Bridgman, and the puck in the Philadelphia zone. Cleared by Lintzman. Up ice as he comes with Prop and Bridgman. 3-on-3 at the Islander line, over the line, into the far circle. Now looks to go to the net to Bridgman, and it's tipped wide to the near side. The Prop will try to go back to Wilson at the point. Tied up in the corner comes to Bridgman. Trailing play in front to Barber. Shot! Oh, it hit the post. Off the save by Bill Smith. Now Barber gets it back again and shot wide. As the Flyers have had 2 and have come close for 2 more. Bridgman in the offensive left wing corner. Lintzman out in front. Now goes behind the net to Bridgman. Angle shot wide and high of Billy Smith. Back to the right point to Ben Wilson. Gets inside his man. Drive. And it goes through to the far side. Lintzman can't control it. Hits a chink on the boards, and the Flyers get control again. Prop. Shot. And Billy Smith the save, and it comes to the near side. And the Islanders are being sore pressed now by the Flyers, and finally Potvin comes with Merrick and Nystrom 2-on-3. At the Flyer line, he's in. Shot. And Mir had to do the quick splits off to his right and keep that away with his right pad and elbow, as Potvin, who already has 2 tonight, was bidding for a rare defenseman playoff hat trick. Up to Kelly for the Flyers at center ice. Spins right past Gordy Lane. Comes into the side of the net around. Stopper. Billy Smith the save, and the Islanders ice it. After it quickly is Bob Daly, who, despite the 6-2 score, wants to get as much time remaining in the game as he can with 4:09 left third period. Islanders 6 and the Flyers 2. A pause for station identification on the Flyers Hockey Network.
WTAF-TV, Channel 29, Philadelphia. Taft Broadcasting, serving the Delaware Valley.
Gene Hart along with Ed Van Impe as Bob Taylor is now going down to our post-game studios. Leach from the right circle, right in on Smith. Didn't see the rebound. The Flyers, whose offense has been pretty well under wraps all night, are really putting on a late surge here. And it may not be enough for this game, but it certainly should leave a calling card for Monday night's fourth contest. Clark behind the net, tied up in the air by Morrow. Morrow in turn has trouble getting it past Leach and Clark. In comes Butch Goring, wraps it out to the far point. Bob Kelly tries to keep it in, but Bob Bourne gets it up to center, but Gillies overskates, and the Flyers play it back. Clark up the middle, through looking for Daly, but offside on the right wing is Philadelphia's Leach. 3:40 remaining in the third period, Eddie, and it's 6-2.
I think, Gene, it might be a little bit easier for the Islanders to be sitting back now. They had that 6-goal lead, just sitting back on a big cushion, and the Flyers have been forcing the issue a little bit more here with 3 minutes and 40 seconds remaining, picking up a couple of quick goals, but it may just be a little bit not enough, just not soon enough, really, Gene.
Hyde Hill on with Gorin, centered by McLeish, with Barber playing a defensive position with Ben Wilson, with Jimmy Watson out, and Flyers hard pressed. They're using Barber as a dual fold, a fourth forward really, and also he can cover on defense. Here comes Leach through, or McLeish into Hill. Tries to get it past Pearson, who takes it away. Has trouble getting it out as they do a little bit too much fooling in their own zone. Finally up to Gillies at center ice along the left wing. Gets over center, drills it into the Flyer zone to the right of Meir. Lays it off for Wilson, goes around behind the net to Al Hill along the Flyers' defensive left wing boards. His outlet pass at center skips past McLeish and played by the Islanders back into the Philadelphia zone. Ben Wilson on with Barber, and up front Gorence with McLeish and Hill. Here comes Barber up the middle, stripped of the puck from behind by Butch Goring. Puck rolls back in the Flyer zone, but Hill is there to cover for Philadelphia. Plays to Ben Wilson, works past the sweep check of Drain Sutter, past Clark Gillies, and up the middle of the ice through to McLeish over the line on the right side. McLeish is shot in on Smith, grabs, plays off to his right, where Lauren Henning looking up ice, tries to get it out, kept in by Barber, and then tapped off the blue line and into center and back to the Flyer line by Clark Gillies of the Islanders. Here comes Ben Wilson making a charge. Right side pass to Gorence. Gorence holds inside the blue line. Now pivots inside Howard, but loses the puck to Langevin, who ices it. And that'll be the call as we'll get a stoppage of play. DuPont getting there for Philadelphia with 2:22 remaining in the third period, and it's the Islanders 6 and the Flyers 2.
Billy Smith has certainly come back with a strong performance tonight after the second game in Philadelphia. He gave up 6 goals in the first 2 periods, but he's came back tonight with a real strong effort in shutting down the Flyers and holding them down to 2 goals.
Mike Bridgman is on the wing with prop center by Lintzman with DuPont and Daly. Offensive right circle faceoff. Nystrom is on with Henning, and Bourne will take the draw with Lintzman. Now Lintzman is dumped out, and Bridgman will go in against Bourne. Defensively is Lorimer with Dennis Potvin. All right, puck drifted behind the Islander net to the far side for Nystrom. And behind the net, he's stripped by Bridgman, who failed to center, and the Lorimer is in there now, worked on by Lintzman. And kicks free to the near side. Bob Daly goes in deep, throws it in the net, and right to the side of Smith. Lintzman made the save. It comes in front, backhander, that was blocked. Lintzman is shot, hit the post on the long side. And Smith may have gotten a piece of it, but I thought it hit the post, Eddie.
I think it did, Gene.
Now Bob Daly up on the right wing at center ice with 1:53 remaining in the third period. 6-2 Islanders. Here comes Lintzman through at the Islander line, pass lane, along the left wing boards, looks for some help, goes back to the blue line, and it's dumped back behind the net by DuPont to Bridgman. He has prop in front, but shoots the puck off the side of the Islander net, jammed up there by Gordy Lane. 6-2 Islanders, 1:38 remaining third period.
Islanders have certainly had a strong performance tonight, right from their forwards back to their defensemen and their goaltender. They've had all parts of their game working tonight, right from penalty killing right to the power play in each shift. And they've just had a tremendous performance from everyone on the ice.
Clark, Barber, and Kelly up front with Leach and Ben Wilson, offensive left circle. Lane is out defensively with Morrow, and they have let's pick it up, Nystrom on with Henning and Bourne. The Islanders wind it around to the right point. Ben Wilson on the backhander can only shove it in, trying to get it into the corner, but fires it over the glass, and we'll have a center ice face-off with 1:29 remaining in the third period. And the Islanders, who got a power play barrage tonight after Henning started the scoring in the first 3 minutes of the game with a shorthanded goal. Then Potvin and Bossy power play goals. Trottier got one in between while the Flyers were 2 men short. Gillies and Potvin again in the second period on the advantage. Because the Islanders at this stage stand at 10 for 18 in 3 games against the Flyers on the power play. Up along the near side, they get it back past Billy Barber at the point. In fact, after 3 games, the Islanders, they've got Howard outside the line, have only scored 2 even strength goals. 10 on the power play, and they've scored shorthanded. Puck dumped in toward the Philadelphia net by Howard.
Dug out by Leach and just lifted down the ice as the clock ticking down into the final minute of play of this third game, which the Islanders are going to take and move up 2 games to 1 in the series. Nystrom penetrated. Tries to go through Barber, is tripped up, but Leach gets the puck through to Clark at center. Now looking for some help to Leach. He stopped as the puck comes to center ice, and the residue of the crowd here, about half of it, is starting to blow victory horns and whistles. Now it's Howard up ice, gets past McIllargy. Boom, tripped up is Dwayne Sutter by Bob Kelly. As Clark behind his own net, gives the puck away. Sutter behind the net, tries to fire a centering pass, winds it around the boards to the near side to Lane, and then Lane's pass is dumped in the net and deflected by Sutter. As Ben Wilson wants to go after Sutter, rubbed his hand in his face, and there's a challenge, and there he goes. The challenge is right after Sutter.
But something had to happen, Gene. It sure broke out now because Ben Wilson went around the outside. He's got Sutter down on the ice, but there's a great big pile of players, and I'm sure there'll be 2 or 3 of his teammates jumping in there to help and maybe pull Ben Wilson off him. There's an awful pile of bodies against the boards. Bobby Clark's in there, Jack McIllargy, Gordy Lane. Bill Muir is just standing inside his goal crease, facing the board, just standing there watching the whole thing happen. The linesmen are there trying to break him up.
Well, we had 26 penalties in the first 2 periods. None here in the third until this incident. With just 29 seconds remaining in the third period. And you can hear Bob Myers say, "Get out of here now." That's what he said to Dwayne Sutter. And Bob Myers said emphatically that. And Al Arbor looks on, shows no facial signs of victory. And John D'Amico, who's as strong as any of the players on the ice, is now guiding Dwayne Sutter into the night. And I'm sure Ben Wilson's gone, but without the escort.
Sutter is pointing to the scoreboard, Gene, because a couple of players in the Flyers bench said something, and Sutter just kind of looked over to him and smiled and pointed to the scoreboard. And it's a complete reversal from the second game in Philadelphia, where the Flyers commanded the whole game and took an 8-3 victory home, whereas here tonight, it's been all Islanders, and the Islanders are ahead right now 6-2 with 29 seconds remaining. Sutter's on his way to the dressing room. That'll be it for the night for him.
Well, he picked up the game's first penalty, as we'll have an opportunity to tell you who helped bring our telecast and radiocast your way tonight. Our executive producer, as usual, Pete Silverman. Our directors, Frank DeVincentis and Ron Harrison. Our assistant directors, Mike Finocchiaro, Bob Eisenstadt, and Dave Bremer. Our studio coordinator, Bob Clark, and the crews at WTAF-TV Channel 29 and WIP, our flagship radio station, and the radio network.
Gene, an awful lot of times when you get a kind of a scramble behind the net like that, 2 or 3 players involved, sometimes I think the referee is lucky to have the 2 linesmen because they can all get together in a huddle as they just completed here now in front of the penalty box and decide exactly who receives the penalties, what kind of penalty, for how long. So it's nice to have a couple of assistants there to kind of guide them as far as what happened and who involved.
Well, Wilson, who now has 64 penalty minutes on the playoff year, picks up 2 for roughing, and Sutter now has 74 minutes. He picks up 2 for roughing. The penalties stay even at 14 apiece as we go into the final 29 seconds of this game, with the Flyers in the hole at 6-2 coming into this period, trailing 6-0, as the Islanders had 3 power plays, the first 2 in the second, and a shorthanded goal. Right now we've got Nystrom out there with Gillies and Clark on with Bob Kelly as we have the puck on the near side. And up ice comes Bob Clark. 20 seconds left in the game. Clark threw at the Islander line into the left wing circle of Kelly. Kelly circles, tries to get a shot in on the net. Has the puck taken away by Nystrom. Will come away with Gillies. He stopped at center by Busnick. We're in the final 10 seconds, and we're having a countdown now. Puck down behind Phil Muir with 5 seconds. McIllargy swings out to the left, just dumps at the second, and the game is over. And the Islanders have moved 1 step closer. The final score is the Islanders go up 2 games to 1 in the series. New York 6 and the Philadelphia Flyers 2. Stay tuned for the Pepsi postgame show coming up next.
The proceeding has been a special presentation of ICENET, the Islanders Championship Entertainment Network.